broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. We now go to invocation. Do we have someone for invocation today? If not, we'll just have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. No invocation today? No? All right, if we could please stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if we could have roll call, please.
Carlson.
Here.
Kurtak.
Here.
Clendening.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
And Maniscalco.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
All right, we need a motion to adopt the minutes from the May 4th meeting. We have a motion, in the May 11th meeting. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's go to the approval of the agenda and the addendum. Just a couple of items. I sent out a memo yesterday regarding item number 32. This is a little bit of a unique situation. I'd like a motion, if it's all right with council, to move 32 to item number 1 ahead of ceremonial activities. We'll offer public comment specifically on that item, separate from our general public comment, and then we'll go back to the regular order of the agenda. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and if we could have, I also sent a memo, if we could have the consent docket following public comment and before second readings, if we can move that up.
So moved.
All right. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. If I can get a motion to remove item number 45, because it's a duplicate of item 52, which is set for a public hearing at 10:30.
So moved.
We have a motion to remove item 45. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. In regards to item 54, it's a review hearing. Because we have an interpreter here, it's a very time-sensitive item. If we could take that up at 10:30 or soon thereafter, because of the interpreter
So
here,
moved.
that's all right. And we'll get to that at the 10:30 hearing. So we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We will be stopping, hard stop at noon until 1:30 for lunch. So everyone knows ahead of time we will be stopping at noon. I've also asked the clerk to set the timer for each council member's comments to be limited to 5 minutes each. We've brought this up in the past. Any objection to that? I don't think we need a motion. So,
If I may,
Yes, sir.
I believe, Mr. Chairman, you have 5 minutes, but you can also speak twice.
okay.
That's 2.5 minutes. You do
All
what
right.
you want.
And then to wrap,
Excuse me if I may.
yes, ma'am.
You can speak twice if after everyone has gone. Is that correct?
Right.
Or
Yeah, you can have a
given
second
the
bite.
opportunity to?
All right. And we'll go to the staff reports real quick. 55 is an administrative update. If we have anything. Item 56, do we need staff here for that? Anybody?
Chairman, we need a vote on that.
Huh?
John Bennett, item 56 would need a vote because of over
No,
three.
I'm just asking if staff needs to be
Oh,
present.
understood.
Are we good? For staff present on 56? Okay, we don't need staff present on 56. Item 57 is the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We will have staff present. Item 58 is Nelson Construction. We will have staff present. Item 59 regarding watering restrictions. Do we need staff present? Well, they don't have a written one, so we'll have them. Item 60 regarding Acela, I would say yes, it's a big issue. Item number 61, there is a request that we continue this to June 15, 2023. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin to continue 61 to June 15th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? 62 regarding alternating meeting weeks. There is no written report, so we'll have staff present for that. Item 63.
So moved, continuance requested.
All right, we have a motion to continue
Second.
63 to June 15, 2023 from a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then Item 64, there's a request to continue this for 60 days.
Date, please.
We
Date,
have-
please.
Second.
They didn't specify a date, so I would say July 13th? Okay, July 13th, 2023, motion to continue. Who made the motion? Councilman 64. We have motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anything else regarding the agenda before I ask to approve the addendum and the agenda? Everything is good? We have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move,
the
so
addendum?
move.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will now go to item number 32, which we have moved to the front of the agenda. Is there opening remarks on this? Chief Bennett, anything? Councilman, or Mr. Shelby?
Just a reminder, council, I don't know whether you want to take public comment now, but if anybody wishes to speak to item number 32, just item number 32.
Okay.
If you could take a public comment before we begin the presentation.
We have two registered speakers, but they are not here to speak on item number 32, so they'll be here for general public comment. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on item number 32? Anybody in the public wish to speak on item 32? I see and hear no one. Chief Bennett, is there anything you'd like to open with regarding this item?
Good morning, council. Good morning, public, especially to our Tampa community members. Today, item 32, it's the mayor's staff who comes back before us, recommended for appointment by way of the agenda resolution. Again, item 32, moved to item number 1. Thank you, council, for honoring that movement so our employees can get back to what they're doing after consideration. Prior to today, we've submitted a cover memo to council and into our public's agenda management system, which we call SIRE, of the 23 curriculum vitaes of the 23 employees that are carried over from the previous term for recommendation for appointment. There are no new names on that roster at this time. However, it should be noted the city is still in a selection process for a new water department director for Chuck Weber's replacement, a new contract administration director to replace Mike Chuckrin, and a new purchasing director to replace Greg Spearman, who's been on contract with your gracious support until that selection is finished. We're also looking forward to bringing a newly recommended CRA director to you early in June. That would make the 27 positions that are named in the charter under council's approval for appointment. So that's the gap, is the 4 against the 23 for today. So the 23 members are behind me. For council's consideration and the sake of the public, I would like to read the names on the resolution that align with the city charter, and they will be in alphabetical order with their job and working titles. And I'd ask them to stand and raise their hand when announced so the public can see who there are, as well if there's any council members that may have not met any of the directors or above. As mentioned in the memorandum, after council considers the resolution for staff appointments, we are requesting a public swearing in by way of the office of the clerk, and Ms. Shirley Foxnose is here to support that. So if the council's in agreement, I can read those names and identify the members on staff.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, in alphabetical order. Sorry, I have a little appliance in, and it's making my mouth dry. All right, Ms. Kelly Austin as the Director of Human Resources and Talent Development. Thank you, Kelly. Brad Barrett is the Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure. Thank you, Brad. John Bennett as the Chief of Staff Recommendation. Lee Burkaw as the Interim Chief of Police. Vic Beatty as the Director of Mobility. Thank you, Vic. Adriana Colina as the Director of Logistics and Asset Management. Elise Drumgo as the Deputy Administrator for Development and Economic Opportunity. Gene Duncan as the Administrator of Infrastructure and Mobility. Abby Feely as the Deputy Administrator for Development and Economic Opportunity. Ms. Shirley Fox Knowles as the City Clerk. Ms. Christine Glover as the Director of Internal Audit. Mr. Russell Halpert as the Director of Technology and Innovation. Ms. Sharisha Hills as the Director of Parks and Recreation. Mr. David Ingram as the Executive Director of the Tampa Convention Center. Mr. Dennis Rogero as the Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Sal Ruggiero as the Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure Services. Mr. Adam Smith as the Director of Communications. Mrs. Nicole Travis is the Administrator for Development and Economic Opportunity. Ms. Barbara Tripp is the Fire Chief. Mr. Larry Washington is the Director of Solid Waste. Mr. Eric Weiss is the Director of Wastewater. Ms. Osea Wynn is the Administrator of Neighborhood and Community Affairs. And our own City Attorney, Ms. Andrea Zellman, is the City Attorney providing an effective date. That is the roster that we bring for you from the mayor today as recommended for appointment to the City of Tampa. Again, no new names are on that roster.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Councilman Miranda, you have your mic.
No, I don't have anything. I don't know what the protocol is after this.
All right, if we have a motion, yes, sir, Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just want to comment. This is an issue that has been discussed a lot in the community and during the campaign. First, I should say that the mayor, chief of staff, others have hired an excellent team. There are a lot of great people with the city who have fantastic experience. They're very responsive to us and to the public, and we're very thankful for that. Every time that one of the people sitting behind you helps us respond to the public, it makes us all look better. As we've discussed before, chief of staff, there's a lot of people in the public can't really tell the difference between whether they're dealing with the mayor or the city council. All they want is a result, and the faster we get it to them, and the more thorough it is, the better. There have been some incidences in the last few years where some members of staff have been rude or dismissive to city council, which in effect is rude to the public because the public wants answers and they want transparency. There have been incidences where some staff have been involved in attacks against city council members. As I said a couple weeks ago, I've told my supporters that I want to try to hit the reset button in the city and move forward and put whatever issues we have in the past behind us. I mentioned before the guy who ran against me, who spent almost $1 million against me. I met with him a couple times and said, let's bury the hatchet, move forward. I called the mayor to congratulate her the day after the election, and we met and we said that we should try to move forward. She called me again this morning, and I also met with chief of staff. And I see that what I'm seeing right now, hopefully it will last, but what I'm seeing is that the administration wants to partner with city council. I'm willing to take whoever worked on the negative ads and whoever has fought us in the past or hurt city council members. I'm willing to take all that and move it to the past, with the promise from the mayor, chief of staff, and others that the city staff will work collaboratively with us, because that's what the public expects. It's not about egos or politics. It's about making sure we deliver the right services and benefits to the public. And so I would just ask all the folks sitting here and to the people who report to them, please don't get involved in politics anymore. We're all on the same team. We need, the mayor's legacy is going to be determined in 4 years. Our legacy is going to be determined in 4 years. You all may be here past that, but as an ongoing measure, folks are going to be looking at how we all work together. So please look at us as people who can collaborate with you. We're not enemies of anyone. We're all here to serve the public. And the last thing I would just remind staff, and especially department heads, is that you don't report to us and you don't report to the mayor. There might be an official administrative role where you officially report to the mayor, but you technically represent the city of Tampa with a big C, and we all represent the public. And so if the mayor or anyone else asks you to do something you think is not in the best interest of the people of this city, please come to us. There are two branches of government that in effect are equal as set out in the charter, and we would appreciate collaborating with you to make sure we get the results. I'm thankful to everyone, especially the mayor, for trying to set a new mindset going forward, and hopefully we can all collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am?
She had no,
I echo a lot of what Councilmember Carlson said. It was really nice to see everyone who stood up, that I have a relationship with almost everyone there, that I have visited departments, and all of you have been gracious with your time and helpful, and just really good representations for the city, and I greatly appreciate that. The mayor has developed a wonderful team. We've gotten a couple of emails about about the Director of Communications, and I had a good conversation with him yesterday. I would be remiss if I didn't say I was concerned about the Director of Communications, though, because to me, that's the linchpin of the city. I work in communications, and the questions I had weren't fully answered to my satisfaction. I'm concerned, we talked yesterday about how are we educating the public about things like this Park and Rec document that's very confusing, and the answer I got was not satisfactory. I feel very, very strongly that that is our first step forward to everyone in this city, and I don't feel that that particular role is being as proactive as necessary. So I will not be voting for Director of Communications to go forward. So that's basically my concern. And after my conversation yesterday, I got 2 emails that basically echoed the concerns I have. And so what worries me the most is the public notices. And I don't feel like that's okay. We need to be very open and forward and encouraging, and the dismissive concerns that people have had concern me too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate I had an opportunity as the new city council person to read all of your resumes and your areas of expertise. And I have no issue with any of you, although there has been an email about the Director of Communication. I don't see it as satisfactory enough to prevent that person from moving forward in their position. Of course, all of us deserve an opportunity and areas of improvement. We know that. But I think we should move forward with all the nominations, and I would like to make a motion, or can I do that right now? You got something?
Well, we'll finish discussion. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then Councilmember Miranda. Vieira Miranda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm inclined to support. I really appreciate the words of everyone today. I know, there were some, we're not supposed to talk about politics up here, but yet it's here, right? There were some very high profile races. I think it was in a 1976 campaign, I think when he was running in the Republican primary for president, I believe it was Ronald Reagan famously said, "I paid for this microphone." And, Councilwoman Hurtak and Councilman Carlson, were in probably the 2 most high-profile races in the city of Tampa. And so we all paid for this microphone, but you can certainly say that about them. So I respect their opinions, which appear to go in different ways. But again, I respect y'all's opinions 110% because y'all paid for this microphone, like we all did. But I'll be voting yes on it. I appreciate all of city staff. And, there are things that council members have mentioned that I think are throughout the, last year and a half of particularly really, we've had some really acute times in the city of Tampa. I hope and pray that we can maybe, the word isn't move beyond it, but that we can build on the work that we have to do here in the city of Tampa, all of us. And I look forward to working with all of y'all to continue to do that. So I thank you for that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the last 2 council members, all the council members that have spoken before me, and I understand what they're saying. Let me just say that when you work for the public, mayor may select you to be a department head or an employee or whatever, and then you might have the opportunity, if you're a department head, to come be confirmed by the council like we are today. So in essence, what you really work for is not the mayor and not us. You work for the citizens of the city of Tampa, and those are the ones that pay for everybody's mic, for everybody's opportunity to serve. Notice I said the word serve the public. And when you run for public office, you really never have an opponent. The only opponent you have when you run for any office is yourself, period. Let whoever runs say what they want to do. It goes in one ear with me and out the other, because that's how life is. I cannot control emotions. And at any moment, myself, others, including those here that are department heads, you might be emotionally in a mood and you make an error. Now, there's a big difference between an error and a mistake. A mistake is something that you plan on, and operation, you might have a mistake like Russia. That's a big mistake. They invaded a country and now they're paying for it. So an error is when you're trying to do something and you falter, but you won't do it again. So these things in life, and I am not perfect. I never said I'm perfect. I don't believe anyone here is perfect in this room. So what I'm saying is, go do your job. If I disagree with somebody, and I got to tell them HE double hockey sticks, I go tell them right to their face in person. Because this city is number one in so many things that I certainly don't want to change the image that we have and tarnish it. In fact, the mayor of Jacksonville just got elected the other day, and she was not supposed to win. She won. And guess what she said? We're much bigger than Tampa, and Tampa's much better than we are. Why? I didn't hear that. I was told that by people on the street. That they mention even the city of Tampa, when you get elected in a big country, in a big county that, like Jacksonville is, they got a different form of government. But when you say that about a city, somebody's doing pretty well in this city. Yes, there's people that got it. We have to have a hand up to push up, give them an opportunity to do better for their family. But at the same time, we got to stop the nonsense from that side and from this side. I'm not taking sides. I'm saying in order to have a truce, not one party's got to agree to it. Both parties have to agree to it. So I'm going to hold both parties to that same token that we're talking about. And that's the approval, and I agree with my two previous that I would also be supporting this slate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Clinton.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Being one of the new persons on council, I've had the privilege and honor to be able to meet the department heads over the last couple of weeks, and I can tell you I've enjoyed all the meetings, and I think the level of public service is high, and I think the people that live in the city of Tampa can be proud of you all for what you do for the city every day. Public service is one of the best, highest callings, working, nobody's going to end up being a Bill Gates working for government, but you make huge contributions to our city, and I appreciate all of you for the segments that you all are control. And I guess what the previous council persons said, the same thing. I think we all have to recognize everybody has a unique role in our government, from the department heads to the mayor to the city council, and sometimes we have lanes, and sometimes our lanes cross each other. But we all have to be respectful of each other, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with each one of you, and I appreciate everything that you do every day, and I think, again, the city of Tampa is in good shape because you all are there. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shelby.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to hold my comments unless it's necessary.
Chief Bennett.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Council. I just want to say again, because I'm representing the administration on behalf of the mayor, is that first, thank you for the feedback. I think over the last 4 years, a lot of process improvement has happened because of our interaction with staff and council. I was sharing this morning that part of the things on our capital improvement program, the foundation has always been there, but adding the grade 8 elements to that with public outreach and communications is allowing this cultural shift to happen where government's not working in a silo anymore, and the engagement, no matter how small the item is. Councilman Clendenny, you talked about a fence in public, that's a big deal. Everything's a big deal to the community, and we have to do more outreach, and I think we're learning of that. And what I would say is that if one branch of the administration is struggling, then we're all struggling, and we all need to come together and work through it. I celebrate the team every day working with, my now 22 colleagues, but closely to the 26 colleagues. And, we all sit around and huddle up over failures and try and process improve those. And everybody's on a different journey. I try and meet them where they are. We all try and meet them where they are, whether it's the administration or council, and then we try and improve those processes going forward to make sure all the checks and balances are in place, mostly, actually, totally for the public. And, I've met with you one-on-one, I've met with the public one-on-one, we've met collectively. And I would just ask, and again, everybody's entitled to their position, of course, on this agenda item, but I would ask that everybody looks at it as a team that's always willing to improve and work hard to get there. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I did not realize that we were just absolutely approving this resolution wholeheartedly instead of individually. So I absolutely will not stop the motion and will support because of the other team members, because I believe that they are working as amazingly as possible. I am still deeply concerned about what I consider the most important part of the city of Tampa. And I'm not alone. I've spoken to other department heads that are also concerned. So and frankly, I'm concerned that the rest of council isn't concerned. But again, I will take your words in the spirit of which they're intended, and I anticipate seeing a lot of improvement.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to respond, as I mentioned before, I have had some concerns about some members of staff in the past 4 years. And with the communication department, my background's communication too. I've had a lot of concerns. Many of the things that I was concerned about, lack of communication in the departments, has improved. Of course, that meant a bunch more new staff too, but I think they're justified to a certain extent because we need more communication. People should not be blindsided by rate increases and things like that. In 3-4 years ago, there was a mailer insert about Tampa Bay water fee, but then the regular rate increase was not communicated very well. And so, there have been things like that over the last few years that seem political, and then some very political, especially against two of our former colleagues. And I think there were a lot of things that were done by the city that were unethical and not right. I've expressed all those to the chief of staff, to the mayor, also met with the department head of communication and talked about that department. I have concerns, but I also have the assurance of the mayor and chief of staff and the department head that things are going to be different going forward. And although by charter, city council only gets this one bite at the apple to approve or not approve, we also have a bully pulpit that we can use here and in other places if we see staff turning city resources against us. It's not ethical to do that. You have to treat, we can't make decisions for political reasons, and I again would ask staff that if somebody above you or outside in the community asks you to get involved in politics, that you just say no. It's not ethical, it's not allowed, it's not legal. Don't do it, and come to us and we'll protect you and guide you through a process to defend against whoever might want to do that. The communication department, I'd say to all the staff in communication, the brand that you're representing, the brand that you're promoting is the city of Tampa. It is the big C and the little c. And anything that goes against that, a fight between the mayor and city council, or attacking a city council member, or trying to one-up a city council member, all that looks divisive and it hurts the city of Tampa's reputation in the community. And so just like the mayor did this morning, she picked up the phone and called me and talked through my concerns. We need to pick up the phone, we need to talk to each other, and we need to make sure we resolve these things going forward. And I have the commitment from everybody that they'll do that. And so with that, I will vote yes as well. Thank you.
Ready?
Oh, I was going to wrap it up
Yeah.
with a few comments.
Go on.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make one comment that the mayor, in all of our meetings leading up to this term, has said one word over and over again to all of is communication. And I think that's going to be the theme that you're going to see over the 4 years. And again, I don't look at the department. It's kind of like when I was in law enforcement, we can't have just one community service officer. Everybody has to be community service. And it's up to all of us to communicate effectively and feed the ball to communications through our processes to make sure that they have the actionable items. And so I put the burden on all of us to do that, and the mayor has told them directly and me directly that that's our charge this time, is communication. Internal, external, up, down, sideways. And I can tell you, last thing, I've been part of organizational change for 25 years, and changing culture is we have to be strong-willed through it, and we're gonna get there, and the city's gonna continue to shine with your leadership, so thank you.
Thank you very much. And before I take a motion to move this resolution, I appreciate everybody's comments, and I share many of the same concerns. I specifically agree with Councilmember Carlson. I think he was very specific. I met with the mayor a couple weeks ago. I talked about, very specific concerns that I had, and I also received her assurance. If we haven't learned from the last year or the last 4 years and all the drama that came with it, then we're never going to move forward together. But I think through a very grueling and difficult campaign season and everything that's happened in these last 12 months, that we've learned, we've understood, we've seen problems, the obstacles, and how we overcome that. And I look forward to a very productive next 4 years. As Councilman Carlson said, you know, the next 4 years will define the legacy of this mayor, of this council. So let's work together collaboratively, communicate, sit down and have those discussions, pick up the phone and talk things out. And I think we'll make a lot of progress moving forward. So I appreciate everybody's comments again, and if I could have a motion to move the resolution.
By
Yes, I'm
committee.
excited to make the motion, Charlie.
Okay, you can make the motion.
Thank you.
We have a very excited motion from Councilmember
Second.
Henderson, second from
Yes.
Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, council, and now I'll turn it over to Ms. Shirley Fox-Nellis so the public can actually see us take our oath of office, which is the foundation of our service.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good morning, Honorable Council. It is my pleasure to provide the oath of office. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support. Uphold. And defend the charter. And ordinances. Of the city of Tampa. The Constitution and laws. Of the state of Florida. And the Constitution and laws. Of the United States of America. And that I'm entitled to hold. The position of. To which I've been appointed. And that I will faithfully perform. The duties of said position. Into and of which. I'm about to enter. So help me God. We have a second oath. I state your name. A citizen of the state of Florida. And of the United States of America. And being employed by. Or an officer of. The city of Tampa, Florida. And a recipient of public funds. As such employee or officer. Do hereby solemnly swear. Or affirm. That I will support the Constitution. Of the United States. And of the state of Florida. Congratulations and thank you for your service to the city of Tampa.
Again, thank you, Chairman, thank you, council, thank you, public, and thank you, staff. And I know the mayor's out of town, so thank you to her as well. We had asked staff if they could go out and take a picture on the staircase together, and I don't know how council wants to either, join or continue the agenda, so thank you.
No, we're going to continue. You have Krispy Kreme donuts waiting for you on the first floor. I don't know if you got the memo, but I saw something, so
It speaks to
enjoy.
my history, donuts.
That's right. Well, thank you very much. We'll just pause for a moment as they leave, and then we'll continue with the agenda.
Sure to sign your oath in the sister's signature.
Is this what you gave me last week? That brand?
Which
that-
is it, the
okay.
very first thing?
I mean, I'd love to skip it, but.
Yeah, I want you on the photo.
I'm sorry?
I want you on the photo. Yeah. If they could just reorder it, take it to the mouse first.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
My peers are out there going to take a picture, but my commendation for my team is item number 1 on the agenda. If council would switch the item numbers around so I can go take the picture and come back and be with my team.
All right, so we'll go to number 2, and we'll have you after that. We'll flip it. You're
Thank
number 1,
you.
you say. Yeah,
Thank
so we'll go to item number 2, and that should give you time for the photo. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, council.
all right. Councilmember Riera, yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have with me here Miss Stephanie Yaslowitz Barnes, Miss Cindy Roberts, and Christina Duran with the Police Benevolent Association coming up. So this week, and come on up, guys. There you go. Hey, good to see you. This week, Mr. Chairman, is National Police Week and Police Peace Officers Memorial Day, which was, I believe, marked on Monday. And I wanted the council to be able to hear from our friends from the organization COPS, which is called the Concerns of Police Survivors. This is a wonderful organization that provides support and assistance to the survivors of police officers whose lives were taken in the line of duty. I had the great pleasure of going to their gala, I guess maybe about 2 months ago or so, as I recall. And I wanted them to come here during this week because it's a great organization that I think this council would really, really support. And I think all elected officials would really, really support and want to get involved in. So I want to introduce our two speakers, if I may. Ms. Stephanie Yaslowitz Barnes is the proud sister to the late officer Jeffrey Yaslowitz of St. Petersburg Police Department, who gave all on January 24th of 2011. He served in the K-9 unit and was filling in for another officer on the day when he gave all for St. Petersburg. He had served with his K-9 partner Ace for the last 2 years. He had served with the St. Petersburg Police Department for 12 years and was survived by his wife, his 3 children, his parents, and his 2 sisters, including Stephanie, who's here with us today. And he was only 39 years old, and he's a true Tampa Bay area hero. We also have with us here Miss Cindy Roberts, who's such a wonderful, wonderful woman. She is the proud wife of the late Corporal Mike Roberts, who on August 19th of 2009 here in the city of Tampa also gave all as a police officer. Corporal Roberts lost his life while working with the Tampa Police Department. He was a family man, a husband, a father, a Gulf War era veteran who also served in Bosnia, and today rests with his fellow heroes. And if we could have could you, if you don't mind, thank you. And rests with his fellow heroes at Florida National Cemetery over in Bushnell. So I wanted to invite Stephanie and Cindy to come and speak about this organization, and Mr. Ann, of course, and Chief Burkhoff, good to see you, sir. How are you, sir? To come and speak about this organization. It's an organization that stands up for those who have stood up for us and paid the ultimate price. So, ladies, come on up.
Well, thank you, Councilman Vieira. That is such a wonderful introduction. I'm really not sure how to add to that in any valuable manner. As he mentioned, May 15th is National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and this year in Washington, D.C., we sat on the White House lawn while they honored 443 officers nationwide who lost their lives in the line of duty serving the communities where they live. It was a long day. It's a tough day to see all the families, the extended families that are affected. It's not just the family that the officer lived with at home, it's their friends and it's their co-workers. The Concerns of Police Survivors is there. We hold conferences on 2 days during National Police Week to bring those new families in and introduce them to what COPS has to offer and to help them adjust to what is referred to as the new normal. Their officer will obviously never come back. Their life will never be the same, but you can move forward and grow beyond that. So there's conferences for first-year survivors and some of us that are returning many, many years later. I've attended National Police Week now for the 14th time. The first time I attended National Police Week, Councilman Miranda was also here as well. So I'm certain that you remember that, and I thank you for continuing to serve with the city. So COPS is there. We're here locally. We have over 300 families in our 9-county area that we serve here in the Tampa Bay area. COPS is always there for the families, even if they don't have an immediate need. If something comes up later in life, we're always here to come in and out as their needs arise in ways that we can help them with that. I hope that you will also remember again tomorrow on May 19th when the city of Tampa will honor 2 of their own who were lost in the line of duty 25 years ago, and that's Detective Bell and Childers. So I'm certain that their families will appreciate knowing that you're remembering the sacrifices that those 2 officers made on that day as well. Peace Officers Memorial Day was actually instituted in 1972 by President John F. Kennedy to honor those officers. So the week surrounding that every year is National Peace Officers Memorial Day, which also means that those of us that are a surviving parent, a female in particular, we celebrate Mother's Day in DC, honoring our lost loved ones and bringing our children along with us to celebrate Mother's Day in a particularly unique fashion. Again, I want to thank you just for giving us this opportunity to speak to you and to address the city. It's always been an honor for me to say that I'm from Tampa. You have done things for us that other cities do not do for their survivors. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for standing behind the department as you have and knowing that they are our last line of defense in some particularly heinous situations that victims may encounter, and that they do that honorably every day. Stephanie?
I don't know how to speak after that. I love when listening to her speak. She's so eloquent, especially when she talks about our organization and chapter. I just want to speak a little bit from being a sibling of it and what our organization offers. One of the things that I've always felt, I lost my brother, someone I grew up with, someone I was friends with, fought with, had all those relationships, knew his secrets, that other people may not know. When you lose a brother, it's a hard thing, regardless of, what the circumstances. When it's on the news and you're actually watching it on the news as it's happening, not realizing it's your brother, it's even worse. I totally forgot my brother was working that day, so it was very hard. One of the things that's hard for siblings and parents as well is, without concerns of police survivors, we don't have a lot of emotional support other than the community from when it's there. It's so nice to have an organization that offers that emotional support. Jeff was not one that was supporting us financially. There's nothing that we need financially. We have our families. My mom had her husband. But the one thing that's nice to have is something that can emotionally and mentally support us. I've seen, as a sibling, I've watched a lot of the other family members in this organization having a lot of pain, regardless of, maybe they had falling outs with their sons, daughters, or siblings. The regret when the officer leaves that quickly and you've never gotten to make amends for something that maybe happened years ago. There's so many different things that I've seen with the extended family members beyond, the spouse and children. My number one focus is always putting on the spouse and children. They're the ones that have lost the greatest love with their spouse and their dad, who, even if the mom remarries or the dad remarries, if it's they're never going to get another dad again. So my focus in doing the gala was wanting to I really believe that we needed to get our information out more. I felt as great as our national organization is, our local area did not know, or they may have known who we are, but they didn't understand who we are. And I think that's important because as we're learning the new normal so many times, everything is there, the first month or so after, or even the first year, probably the first year. And then that support goes away, not because people forget, but because people kind of go on to their normal, forgetting that we have a new normal. And so where our organization comes in is we try to keep that support for our survivors. One of the things that we wanted to do with our gala and moving forward with things is being able to build that support more around our local survivors. We feel that, many want to be able to go to national, can't always get back to national. So we want to have that support here where we're allowing funds for mental health. I actually became a counselor after my brother died just recently. He was a psychologist before he went into a psychology major in college, and so I wanted to kind of follow his lead, and that's the way I can honor my brother, is by doing things that he would be proud of me for. And just being able to offer that mental health for our survivors, regardless. And then I feel that our spouses need a lot more. As I listen to Cindy, my sister-in-law, Teresa Kondak, Penny Mecklenburg, all our spouses we have, you know, I see that there's so many needs that they have that we could be offering them that we haven't realized the need that they have. And I feel like we need to be offering them that support. So I wanted, part of my reason for the gala is to raise the funds so that we can give them more support, helping their kids in college with expenses that maybe they can't afford. You know, we've talked about different things that may be needs for them, not just when they first lose their spouse, but moving forward, because it's an ongoing thing for them. So, you know, I really believe in this organization. I think it's a great thing. And I'm hoping that more people join in our mission and want to learn more about us and help in any way that they can.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do either of y'all want to say anything, or?
I'll speak real
Please,
quick.
please.
I just want to say thank you, Council. Thank you, Councilman Vera, for recognizing this organization. It's a fabulous organization that more people definitely need to get behind. I know I've been with this agency now for 18 years, and I've learned a lot about this organization. They've been there for us as much as I hope we've been there for them. It definitely, we become one big family, and unfortunately it takes the loss sometimes to meet the spouses or to meet the siblings of the other officers, but we've always, from a law enforcement perspective, wanted survivors to know that we're one family and we will always be there for them. And then they, in turn, have made a lot of us realize that we're survivors as well, because we've lost our coworkers when we don't necessarily think of it that way. It's just they're our coworkers, they're our friends, they're our family. But a lot of times we put the focus on them, but they want to make sure that we know that we're actually a survivor as well through this, and then they support us as well. And it's really nice to know that if something did happen to me or my husband when we're on here, that not only would my children have the department, they would have this great organization, and they do so many fabulous things for the children through camps over the summer, and just really making sure that everybody is taken care of from immediate family to the work family. So I really appreciate Cindy and the organization and you, Council, for recognizing them.
Thank you very much.
Morning, Council. Lee Burkaw here. As Cindy said earlier, this is National Police Week, and if you haven't noticed, you'll see the majority of the officers wearing a band over their badge, and that is to recognize all the officers that have lost their lives and given their lives for their communities across the nation for this week. If you see on the media, on the news, they're honoring officers, local officers every day to highlight what they've done. And of course, you know, we can't not recognize our own officers, and we had our memorial ceremony, and I think that the majority of you all were there. Cindy also talked briefly about cops, and I'll tell you one thing that I didn't hear you guys say, the one thing that cops did for me when I was a lieutenant. I was the shift commander out on the scene when Mike Roberts was killed, and also when Curtis and CoCab were. And what cops did is they actually had a class that they sent, that I went to, that talked about how to take care of the family and what we can do. And that was very eye-opening for me, because that's what we all are, is we're a family, and how to take care of one another. And they actually put on a class to teach law enforcement officers how to take that. That was inspirational to me, and to this date we support cops and we support everybody. And I don't know, you're like family to me. I have a special bond with you, so yes, it's my honor to be here to support you, and thank you for supporting her and the COPS organization.
Thank you very much. Anybody from council have any comments? Councilman Miranda?
I just want to say thank you for the enlightenment that you're giving us, not only this council, but people that are in the audience and those that are listening on the television set. It's amazing that when you get together, you can certainly do a lot more than if we're just doing it by one person. It means a lot, because not only for your own satisfaction, that what that person did to make life better, not only for his or her family, but for the Constitution of the United States of America and helping people all the way along. So it's a blessing to have the three of you speak. And thank God I'm here, because I don't think I could follow your three speeches. They were excellent. And we really appreciate it very much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes, very informative. Thank you so much for that information. I was not aware of it. Coupled with the memorial service that I experienced last week, I really appreciate that the city of Tampa is well represented, even in our status hours. But it is greatly appreciated, the knowledge. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Clendon. No, Councilmember Hurtak?
Thank you for coming and explaining more about this organization and how you are helping those who have suffered one of the greatest losses. It's nice to know that this is an organization that supports officers, not just family members, but colleagues. I think that's something that many people don't think about. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Carlson?
Yeah, thank you so much for supporting the heroes that we lost and their families. Please keep us posted about what we can do to help. But also, since you do have some people watching at home, is there any other way that the public can support you all?
Well, one thing I wanted to add too is we had done we'll do conferences in areas, and last year Cindy and I were fortunate to be able to get National to do a traumas of law enforcement in our area. So we had that, and then National is doing their national conference in Orlando, and we're hoping, because Tampa is a great city, we need to have more things National coming down and doing, so we're hoping to get them to do one in Tampa sometime. But as far as helping us, we have a Facebook page, West Central Florida Concerns of Police Survivors, and then we also have Instagram, which is the same, West Central Florida Concerns of Police Survivors, and we do have a website that never can remember, but I think it's WCFL. I never can remember it exactly, but it's linked to our Facebook page, so they can go on there, and we do, there's a link that they can ask questions or, respond to us, and we do get emails from that.
Thank you very much, and we thank you for your sacrifice and everything that you do and the memory of those that you've lost in the service to this community, and we will always remember them. They'll never be forgotten, and again, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to do these quick appointments for 3 and 4 and then go back to number 1. Ms. Shirley Fox Knowles.
Good morning again, council. This is item number 3. We have Ms. Dominique Cobb asking for reappointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, good morning. My name is Dominique Ashunfolade Adeyemi Cobb. I have been serving as the Vice Chair for Historic Preservation since 2019. Recently, as far as Tuesday, I was voted as Chair for Historic Preservation. I sit as the urban planner, but in my community, I do a host of things. I was previously the Vice Chair for the CRA for East Tampa, along with other projects. My main commitment for the historic preservation is not just to preserve the history of Tampa, but also the African American community that was neglected for many years. So I hope that I can bring more communication to the public in regards to the history that is so beautiful and vast in Tampa, and make sure that a generation does not lose the focus, and also bring up things that can also establish forward movement as far as historic and preservation in this area.
Thank you very much. If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion to reappoint the applicant? So moved. Second. Motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Henderson. Mr. Shelby?
Yes, and if you can include in that motion to request that I bring back a resolution for that.
Yes, and including Mr. Shelby bringing back a resolution so we can ratify that. We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4.
Shirley Fox Knowles, City Clerk. We have Samantha Decker asking for a reappointment to the Variance Review Board.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Decker. It's nice to see some familiar faces and also a couple new faces. I'm a real estate attorney at Stearns Weaver Miller, but more importantly today, I'm a resident of the Ballast Point neighborhood, and I am seeking reappointment to the neighborhood civic representative position of the Variance Review Board. I've been on the board for about 4 years, and I have the pleasure of now serving as chairwoman of the board, excuse me, and I'm looking forward to 4 more years.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak. Do we have a second? Councilmember Miranda. This is also to include Mr. Shelby bringing back a resolution so we can certify, ratify, approve that. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes, ma'am.
No, when you're done.
Okay. Congratulations. Councilmember Hurtak.
I just wanted to say congratulations. Ms. Decker and I served on the Variance Review Board together, and I remember when you joined, and I'm just so excited for you for being nominated and the new chair of the board. Congratulations, and she's just a wonderful addition, and I'm really excited to hear.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to item number 1. Mr. O'Hara stepped out for a moment. This is for the Revenue and Finance staff, and to recognize them. This is a motion made by Councilmember Miranda. Yes, there he is. Councilmember Miranda, this is your item. Yes, sir. Item number 1.
Chairman, honorable member, Tampa City Council, it's my pleasure to be here this morning with Dennis O'Hara, the individual who's in charge of Revenue and Finance. And this combination is something unique, something that is very nice for the city of Tampa together. This, I believe, is the 34th time you received this?
Yes, sir.
Well, can you tell us what it is, how you received it, and what you have to do to comply with this so that the public understands that it's just something that you don't give away, that you have to earn?
Yes, thank you, sir. Hello again, Council. Dennis O'Hara, Chief Financial Officer. You know, as Councilman Miranda said, you know, this isn't something they just set and forget. There are a number of rigorous standards that this team has to comply with, whether it's the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, the State Auditor General, state law, generally accepted accounting principles. The list goes on, and this team not only meets those rigorous standards, but exceeds them every single year, and many of them are always changing. So congratulations to them, congratulations to you. It's a terrific reflection on the city.
And I would be remiss, there's 7 individuals behind us that are the ones that did a lot of the work, and of course, under the direction of Mr. O'Hara, but under them, there's so many people that work in this department that on a daily basis keep the numbers straight. And it's just something that you don't earn by somebody giving it to you. You have to earn it by the process in which you said. So all of you, thank you for the type of work that you do in the Finance and Revenue Division. It's my honor to give you this presentation. It's a pleasure to Tampa City Council to present a combination to you in recognition of Certificate of Achievement for Excellent Finance Reporting for the Government Finance Officers Association. And this is the 34th time you received this. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for saying it. It's my pleasure to do this. Thank you to all of you here in the city of Tampa. You've done a great job. Anyone want to speak a couple of words?
No?
They're finance people. They don't talk to the
They want to get back to the numbers. Thank you again, and thank you for your support earlier, Council. I don't take that support for granted. I never will. And Lee Huffstudler on our far left, the chief accountant, an amazing team. I can't say enough about them. They are world-class. Thank you.
Can you introduce their names to us, please?
Certainly.
By name?
Yeah, why don't,
Thank you.
can I do one better and have each of you just come up?
Sure.
Say your name real quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm Lee Huffstetler. I'm the city's chief accountant. We have the manager of the floor, Sabrina McAdoo, and we have the supervisor of the floor, Pam McCarter, and then we have LaPasha Gibbs, who is one of the support techs, and then we have Christopher Hutchcraft. Yes, thank you. Christopher Hutchcraft, one of the accountants. We have Nancy Harper's one of the accountants, and then Calvin Southwell, who's also one of the accountants on the floor. They do an excellent job. I could have spoken, but we would have been here a long time because they do an excellent, difficult job, and this year was especially challenging, as it always is, but they came through again, number 34.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any council members have any comments? Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hurtak.
I think I got to say this last year at the 33rd.
Yes, you did.
But as both the daughter and the granddaughter of accountants, it's particularly, I know the difficulty with which being exacting with numbers and how things have changed in accounting, but not really. You still have to go back and, I mean, there's only so much computers can do for you. So,
Well said.
to really understand the nuance, and like I was telling you earlier on our briefing call, how I'm going through the report that you have put through, and how much work that is, and just congratulations to all of you for this award and for all the work you do in going through that report and preparing myself for the budget. It's really impressive how well you all know what you do every day. So thank you so much. We simply could not do it without you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. We appreciate all that you do. I've known you since I started here when you were the chief of staff, and now you're the boss over there. But you always do a great job. Your team does a great job. It's not an easy task, and this is very well deserved for 34 times. See you next year when you get it again. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
All right, next item is item number 5, and then we'll go to public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Kamaria Pettis-Mackle from the City Attorney's Office. Item number 5 is regarding the 2022 Citizen Review Board Annual Report. Pursuant to City Code Section 18-8, subsection I, the Chair of the Citizen Review Board, Mr. Akil, and also the Vice Chair of the Citizen Review Board, Colonel Reyes, are present to present the 2022 Review Board Annual Report. Along with the Chair, also present are Corporal Katie Thanasis, and Dr. Collins is also present. She's in the audience. Each one of the council members should have a copy of the 2022 Citizen Review Board Annual Report in front of you. After the presentation of the annual report, I have a document for each city council member to sign, affirming that you reviewed the Citizen Review Board 2022 annual report. And with that, I'll turn it over to the chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning, council. Good morning, public. I am Rashid Akil, the chair of our Citizen Review Board. Today, I am present to present our 2022 annual report. I would like to begin this presentation with acknowledging the support of our city leadership, from our city mayor to city council to city staff and administration, and our legal team, including Tampa Police Department and staff. I would like to just be able to highlight a few items in this report. I would like to draw our attention to the bottom of page 2 to recognize the members of CRB continued commitment to the city growth and success, starting with Reverend Dr. Bartholomew Banks, Ms. Irene Guy, Mr. Devin Engadella, Mr. Lincoln Tamayo, Mr. Carlos Valdez, and standing with me is our Vice Chair, Colonel Darrell Reyes, as well as Dr. Carolyn Collins. We'd like to, if you will, let's please continue to section 2, page 3. Under the alleged policy violations for the selected cases I pulled, under category standard of conduct was sustained on numerous occasions. We hold our police department to a higher standard, so it is pleasing to report that our officers are upholding the integrity and professionalism outlined by its citizens. However, with a constant, forever changing community, it's important that our officers continue to receive the necessary support for various training exercises to reduce the need of deadly force orchestrated with to, not sustained. In addition to the review of these 10 closed internal affair cases, the CRB also heard and considered additional matters of department business of public interest. Department administration provided updated information on the revised SAFE program that also incorporated Business Watch and Neighborhood Watch. Presentation was also made to the CRB about updates to the department body-worn camera policy, school safety initiative, gun violence statistics, and the chief community impact team. Also in reference to data transparency regarding traffic stops, discipline matrices, and the Reserve Officer Program. We will continue with Section 3 on page 5. The Tampa Police Department tracks all citizens' complaints pursuant to policy. The department provides a list to the CRB of all new complaints receiving regarding departmental employees in the previous month. The department also provides a monthly list to the CRB showing the status of all pending investigations in the Professional Standards Bureau Internal Affairs Unit. In addition to making a complaint directly with the department, citizens may now submit a complaint via email to the CRB by emailing tpd-crb@tampagov.net. However, according to the table, as you have in front of you, the telephone seems to be the selective communicative choice for issuing a complaint. We as a board have had several discussions on monitoring complaints. As we receive more data, I'm sure the board may have recommendations moving forward on the current method of complaints sent by email versus telephone. We as a board has had discussion of the Citizens Review Board's website being revised to provide a simpler way of the citizens to submit a complaint. And we are aware that we have a presentation this month in reference to that particular website and how citizens are able to provide that complaint. If you will, we can continue with Section 4 on page 6. As mentioned in Section 2, 10 closed internal affair investigations were reviewed by the CRB. In accordance with the duties and responsibilities of the CRB, the actions of the department that were taken regarding these investigations were also reviewed. In the review of these cases, the CRB may render a recommendation regarding to the disposition of the investigation and the discipline imposed based on the preponderance of the evidence. In 2 cases reviewed, the CRB concurred with the disposition of the case, but not the imposed discipline. I can share with you all today that the CRB have had several discussions in reference to the imposed discipline, and this is a subject we will continue to monitor to support future recommendations, so if desired. If you will, we'll continue with Section 5 of page 7. The CRB has continued to participate in the hiring process of the prospective Tampa police officers. The designated CRB member involved in the interview is able to make recommendations regarding their opinion of the suitability of each candidate. The role is rotated amongst members of the CRB, and I believe all the members have participated in the interview panel hiring process, and we have shared our survey with the TPD staff. As a whole, we were very pleased with the last graduating class. I believe the city will continue to be a place of safe haven, a place where one can raise a family, prosper and grow, knowing that we have officers working around the clock to ensure that we can have a better sleep at night. I believe the city of Tampa is becoming an icon of the state, and we are attracting very good prospects from other cities and neighboring counties. Our rate of pay and benefit programs supersedes other cities of Florida, giving us the opportunity to be selective and only select those that can support our higher standard. We'll continue with Section 6 of page 8. All members of Tampa City Council shall attend at least one CRB meeting per calendar year, either in person or virtually, and the attendance should be reported in the annual report, which you have in front of you. In addition, we also have a meeting in each city council single member district, and the respective city council member for said district shall be encouraged to attend that meeting in that district. I would like to share that encouragement of attending the monthly CRB meeting to all members of City Council. And I would like to applaud the 2 City Council members who attended in this past year, Councilman Joseph Citro, as well as Councilman Guido Moscasco. And I'm also aware that in our recent past month meeting, also Luis Vieira. Thank you all for your continued support, and I hope this annual report reflects the commitment and the obligation its citizens has to a city. Thank you. I will now ask if there are any members of City Council who would like to add a statement or concern that I can take back to the court, or take back to the board, as well as give our Vice Chair opportunity to share his thoughts with the council as well.
Thank you very much for that report, and thank you to all the members that serve, and they give their so much time and effort to this. We appreciate you and the service that you provide to this community. I saw member Robert Irvin. He passed away recently, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank him as well for his service. You know, I know it was maybe in January, but, you know, we appreciate him. Colonel Reyes, Doctor, do you have any comments or anything you'd like to say? If not, I'll go to council members.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair and City Council. Just a couple comments. I'm the young guy on the team. These are the founders. I'm in my 4th year, and I just want to say a few things. First, I am extremely, as a citizen and as a volunteer, I am extremely humbled and honored to serve alongside such esteemed citizens, such as Mr. Akil and Dr. Collins. I will just tell you, and I want you to take this as feedback, their unique perspectives, life experiences, and acumen lend an unmeasurable perspective and impact, positive impact on this board. You can rest assured they lead a group of dedicated volunteer citizens in our great city that are very attuned and sensitized to not only the social issues of the day, but their impartiality of judgment transcends to the point where we can actually look at both sides of the coin. And that, I believe, is the power of this committee. The second thing, I would be remiss if I didn't thank our city attorneys, Ms. Kamaria Pettis-Mackel and Mr. Mike Schmidt. They go unheralded. Countless times they have pulled my butt out of the fire on procedures, and they've educated me on the ways of the world. So I just wanted to, for the record, I wanted to thank you for that. It's very, very important. Dedicated servants, public servants. And then the last thing I want to say is I just want to give some positive feedback on one of the many changes that we've experienced with regards to our interaction with the Tampa Police Department, and that is our act, and the chair alluded to it. So our active role now in the interviewing process for our candidates. That's really important, and I share it from a personal perspective, having served in the military for over 3 decades, having sat on numerous assessment boards where we're assessing people for character and integrity. That's what this board does, and I'm very encouraged, and I've participated as they have on several of these boards, and I listen with intent the types of questions that are being asked by our Tampa Police Department. It's not the typical rote, what does scripture, line, and verse say in this policy? It's, you are this, he is that, you're in this situation, now what do you do? And then when inevitably a candidate will give a school book solution answer, which is great, then the interviewing board will then go to the 2nd degree and to the 3rd degree, to the point where they are literally testing that candidate's integrity and their character. I think that's important because in this city, that's what we need for our police, and that's what we demand from our police. But even more so, the communications that this board has provided now as a conduit, as a connective tissue between our community, our city council, our mayor, our TPD, and the folks that live in this great city, I think cannot be emphasized even more. So I just wanted to share that with you, kind of give you a perspective as just a sitting member of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Collins, anything?
I actually am here. Good morning to the council, to the community, and to my buddy over here. She hit on me all the time. I didn't come to speak. I came to support. But you can't ask me to come to the mic. That's not a good thing. So I just want to say thank you all for supporting the Citizens Review Board, which was necessary in our city. I'm blessed to be going into the end of my second term as one of the founding members. And while gone, I will still monitor them, sit in some of their meetings, and I would encourage to really watch the things that have been done for almost 8 to 9 years. We often do not complain. We want to serve the citizens. We want the citizens to understand the Citizens Review Board. And if nothing else, not only encouraging board members, either virtually or in person, we would also try to encourage the community. And I want to give a special thanks to all of the community people who constantly call me and tell me whether we did a great job or we didn't do a great job, because they do not sit in the chamber, but they watch us. I mean, from legal people in this community, hey, you guys did a good one on that one. We're very glad. So thank you. Please continue to support the Citizen Review, and it's indeed my honor, and I'll ditto the chair and the vice chair. I just wanted to be a servant, and I've enjoyed almost 2 terms of doing just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Collins. Yes, sir. Council members, Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you to the chairman, to the vice chairman, and anyone in your committee. And the presentation was excellent. From 1 through 7, table of contents, and you went in each section and make an explanation of section 1, section 2. And it's very easy reading, and it's very precise. And what was said about the new people, those that are there already, is that these individuals, you give them a conference call, you talk to them one eye to eye, and you got a feeling of what they stand for. And we also got to think of what happened. We can discuss everything after it happened, but these individuals got to be trained to do something in what, like the gentleman who retired 30 years or more in the military service. In 1/100th of a second, they got to say yay or nay to something, whatever that something is. And they're going to be held accountable for that. You and I can discuss it forever, but it's the individual's training and the individual's ability to serve to the highest level that we look for in the city of Tampa. And this whole country, I hope they had individuals like you running those boards and those citizens, because I think you all done a fantastic job. And I'm sorry, but I will make an appointment for your September hearing. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and obviously thank all of you all for your service. You know, for me, the idea of a civilian review board is something that is about government accountability. And I remember when I ran in 2016 for City Council, the CRB was a hotly contested issue, like it is today, and it continues to be, and it will continue to be because of the nature of the issue before us. But I've always said that, to me, the CRB is consistent with the values of the Bill of Rights, and it's as American as James Madison, which is, it's about government accountability. That's it. You know, the law enforcement is a part of government that has interactions with the community. We want to make sure that there is oversight on that, right? That obviously doesn't mean that you don't support the police, obviously, but having community relations is a very, very good thing. And we're really blessed. We've been blessed, not just with the 3 folks who are up there, of whom I think the world, obviously, folks who aren't here, including, I think, of my good friend Lincoln Tamayo, who I think has been there since the beginning. I think Lincoln has, who's the head of Academy Prep, an amazing man. Judge E.J. Salsinas used to serve on the CRB when it was first created. I know Irene Guy, Bemitra Liggins, so many different people. Irene's on there now. Bemitra has served there in the past. So many really good folks. So we've been really blessed to have so many distinguished citizens and Tampaños on this board. So we're really in your debt. But again, anything that we can do to continue to make the CRB better, et cetera. There have been some proposed changes I've supported. There have been some that I have not supported. I take every one by one. And I think we have to be very independent on this issue in having a balancing test on the mission of the CRB and whatnot. So, but again, thank you all. Thank you guys very much for your words today, and thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hurtak.
I also want to echo what Councilwoman Vieira said. This is an incredibly important board, and I want to thank you all for serving and obviously taking this incredibly seriously. I really appreciate that. I love hearing about how your role now in participating in the choosing of officers and how that has impacted you and giving you just more ability to understand more about TPD. And as Councilman Vieira said, it's really just about accountability and openness, and I think it's wonderful that you've been given more and more opportunities to find that openness. So just thank you very much. I appreciate your service, and this is an incredibly important board.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Henderson.
Just wanted to say thank you, especially to Dr. Collins, who schooled me during the campaign and provided me with a wealth of information about the CRB so that I can have a better understanding. And I do appreciate your public service in this role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you all for your service, and thank you for being here, and thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
And the attorneys as well that are there working overtime. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to public comment. If you wish to speak on any item on the agenda that's not a public hearing, please come up to the lectern. You have 3 minutes. State your name. And remember that after this public comment, we are going to item 54 because of the schedule and the interpreter that we talked about at the beginning. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good morning, Council. Stephanie Pointer. I'm going to hit on two things that are been this morning. I am always a big fan of city staff and the administration, the administrators that were in here this morning. I have dealt with almost all of them personally, and almost exclusively will I say nothing but great things about them. So I want to make sure that I give a heads up on that. Acela is on the schedule later on today. Acela is not fixed. J.C. Hudgens did do some training with us, which was very, very helpful, but it's still a goat rope. It's not something that works perfectly. It's not something that's functional. So I just want to make sure that we don't get, we're not, this is not cake. It might be batter, but it's not cake. This is next to my neighborhood. This property is owned by TICO. It is part of a substation. Now, when the city of Tampa approved the building permit, all of the permits, the mitigation, these are mitigation trees, okay? It was all done with the permission of the city of Tampa. Makes sense, right? Because they're building something, they have to ask for permits, right? But these bushes are dead. They've been dead for over a year. I've got 10-foot trees that are laying on their side. I have, let me see, I wrote it down. I've called TICO 4 times. I've emailed Mr. Joseph TICO repeatedly, 5 or 6 times. I have talked to the lawn care workers who go there and mow the grass repeatedly. I called that company and said, who do you talk to at TICO? I have repeatedly for almost a year now tried to get TICO to do something about this. I finally gave up, threw my hands in the air the other day, and sent an email and placed a neighborhood enforcement complaint for it. Neighborhood enforcement told me that we should take up those bushes ourselves. That's not our property. That's not my neighborhood's property. It's not my own personal property. You can't go on other people's property and pull up their bushes even if they are dead and a fire hazard. All it's going to take is somebody to flick a cigarette out the window, and we're going to have a fire there. And then it becomes the city of Tampa's problem because the fire trucks come from the city of Tampa. Now, I got a call from Mr. Amos this morning, and I really debated about coming down here this morning. But Mr. Amos called me and said, we have no jurisdiction here. And I asked him, and he said, you need to go to this public utility. And I'm fine with that. But I also asked him to put in the neighborhood enforcement complaint, because once the city puts it in writing, then there's a paper trail. He said, we can't do that. And I think that's crap. If they have to file for a building permit, then why can they not be fined just the same as everybody else? Because you know what? If the fire gets started, then we still have a problem. So tell me how this works, because I went through all the proper channels, and I'm being told that the city of Tampa will not help us.
Then I will reach out to TICO. I know exactly where this property is at, and I'll talk to them and see about getting it taken care of.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Montez Knott, Tampa, Florida. I want to say uhuru. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. We say we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom. And one thing you have to know in life, it's easy to molest little children and get away with it. There's pedophiles all over this world that's getting away with it. It's easy to molest little children and get away with it. It's pedophiles sitting right in this room that have molested little children and have gotten away with it. And that's how white people treat us as African people. They think our mentality is that of a little child, of little children, so they molest us and get away with it. Just like with this police review board they just came up with. No black person care about that. We tried it and it didn't work. No black person care about them speed bumps and them parks and recreation. They got old people coming out here talking about parks and recreation. What black people care about is our reparations. This city owes us, each and every black person in the city of Tampa, at least $3 million in reparations. And that's what's important. All this nonsense y'all talk about, all this nonsense, homelessness and all this other garbage y'all talk about, police violence and all this stuff, don't nobody care about that. Don't nobody real care about that. We care about our reparations. And we have to put white people on notice that we want our reparations. That our foreparents and us, we didn't work for free and underpaid and all this nonsense, and the white folks get away with it, and they talk about the great city they're building. No, we want our reparations. $3 million per person. $3 million per person right here in this city. That's the only thing black people got to care about. All this other little nonsense y'all talk about, we do not care about. We'll show y'all what we think about the police review board next time it's a George Floyd come around. We'll show y'all, our young people will show y'all exactly what we think about it. Y'all can't keep tricking us, man. Y'all got to tighten up. I would like the city of Tampa to remove every code enforcement violation they have against every property that I own in the city of Tampa. They started out with Vicky Pratt, and they put these little code enforcement people on you, and they start citing you for anything. Hey, black people can't resist against that. We don't have attorneys, we don't have money, we don't have none of that. So it's just like when you see our kids in a nice car, then to put the police behind them and start doing all kind of craziness. That have to stop. That have to stop. And we talk about reconciliation and all this other nonsense. White people are always gonna have reconciliation. But who's going to do the reconciliation for what they did to Orlando Goulds? Who's going to do that? Who's going to do how they characterize an African man? It's an insult to all African people. It's an insult to all African people. So what we want is our reparations, $3 million per person in this city of Tampa.
Thank you very much, sir. Next speaker, yes, sir. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
My name is David Cornell, a veteran. The reason I'm here is because of HEART and HEART Plus and the wheelchair accessibility of HEART. Also that HEART Plus is recognized by West Coast Taxi. They have it on a recording that I've heard on my phone. On the 14th floor of the DMV, not too far from here, Nancy Milan's tax assessment office, and also off of Hillsborough, there is no recognition on their television monitors that HEART exists, specifically at Marion Transfer Station. This is a travesty. And additionally, also at Hillsborough off the DMV tax assessment office. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Consider, please, have those on those television monitors, specifically downtown on the 14th floor. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Councilman Vieira.
Chairman of the HEART Board, so I can speak to you outside, if I may.
He'll meet you outside.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
he's
very
the-
much.
Yeah, he's the chairman
Councilman,
for HEART.
thank you very much for seeing me again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Next speaker.
Good morning, Council. I'm here again for another memorial event that occurred because of the city buying back that Memorial Park Cemetery. We all say when it comes to veterans that it doesn't matter about race, color, gender, we're all veterans. But back in 1923, you weren't. At that particular time, if you were African-American, you had to go to an African-American segregated cemetery. And I am so glad that city passed this. I'm going to tell you why. There is an actual memorial dedicated to the Florida Negroes, World War veterans, in that cemetery that I had an event last year for. And it was dedicated in May 30th, 1923. Back in that time, they recognized that, they tried to recognize that trying to serve and honor veterans who died by suicide. So Veteran Council Veteran, in conjunction with Gamma Eta Sigma, we're going to have our it's called 100-year ceremony for that memorial dedication at 11 o'clock on the 30th at the Memorial Park Cemetery. We're inviting you. I want to also thank you for paying for that cemetery. And that's what I want to do. I also want to mention real quickly, one of our guest speakers is right behind me, Noreen Copeland Miller, whose father died, who was buried in that cemetery. That's what it means when we keep that cemetery. And I'm so proud because she's connected to that, to have her being one of the guest speakers. Thank you very much for Luis Vieira for helping me move this thing along. And I hope you guys make it on the 30th of May, 11 a.m. It's historic and it's time, and we call it, for Veterans Council Veterans, we call it a path to healing. A path to healing, because now we can sit there and maybe those veterans who died back then, or military died back then, they can now get the honor that they deserve today. Thank you very much for listening to me, and hopefully I see you out there on the 30th of May. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'm Reverend James T. Golden. I pastor the Mount Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church of Port Tampa, here in Tampa, Florida. And I reside in Manatee County in Bradenton. I rise to thank you for item number 38 on your agenda. It has been a long time coming. I want to thank those of you who have come to visit that site and who have been participatory in helping us to create the Frederick Douglass Memorial Community Park. I'm not too familiar with how things are done in the big city of Tampa. I served on the city council in Bradenton. Our meetings will usually be over by now. We didn't have this much business. And I have to get back to Bradenton. So I just wanted to say thank you. I'm not quite so sure how the agenda works in terms of whether this is a consent item or whether there are questions that anyone might have. But I did want to at least, for my members, to let them know that I really was here and that I appeared. Thank you so very much. We look forward to the work that we're going to do together to make the Port Tampa history be something that is not forgotten, and to make the Port Tampa community a community that embraces the diversity that is there, the equity that has been shown by this council, and the inclusion that we see with the changing of complexion, no pun intended, to that particular area in the city of Tampa. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Is there a way that we go ahead and move that item while he's here?
Yeah, why not? Mr. Shelby can't hear it, so we can get away with it. I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Well, let's vote on this while you're here. I know you came from a long way, so if we could just pull item number 38.
So I'll move to pull 38.
And to vote on it, so you know that we approved it while you're here. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. Oh, well.
Yeah, to pull it.
To
And then
pull
we,
it?
Yeah, and then it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we pulled it. Councilmember Carlson, would you like to move item number 38?
Sure, I'd like to move item number 38.
second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
I
Yes,
would jump up and down, but it would be unseemly for Reverend Golden to do that.
I just want to be clear, you all are naming it Frederick Douglass?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The Frederick Douglass Frederick Douglass
Memorial Park.
Com-
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Because on that property was the school, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's a
Carlson.
very important part. It's named that because there was a school, the school for Negroes at that time was named the Frederick Douglass School.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just wanted, Reverend, I wanted to say thank you to you and your parishioners for keeping the stories alive of the church and the African-American community at Port Tampa. It's an important heritage that we need to make sure people know about. And appreciate you driving all the way up from Bradenton to do this and to go to many other events. But you have some great members who are walking history books, and we need to make sure that we capture that history and that we support you in what you're doing so that folks know the important role
Yes,
that
sir.
church had.
Thank you, first off, for coming. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't preserve for posterity the name of Sister Clara Glenn. She is the member of the Mount Zion family that let me know exactly where the school was and took me over after we cleared it off and showed me the foundation to the building. So I do want the record to reflect that I am here today because of the memory of Sister Clara Glenn, who is yet alive and is still there with us in the congregation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Next speaker.
Was that a wave or?
Thank you, Reverend.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
I'll jump up outside.
Yes, sir. And then we have 2 more people registered online, then we're going to take that review hearing because of the interpreter and the timing for 10:30. Yes, sir, Mr. Michelini.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini. I'm here to speak about the Acela issue. And I was asked to give you specifics about the issues that are not working and which ones are working intermittently. And they involve the search functions. When you put in the address or you put in the project number, that's not always coming up, and the system doesn't always find you. So in a system like this, it used to be a luxury, and now it's a necessity. So we've gotten to the point where everyone relies upon that for searching out the information, and it's not working to the degree that it should be. It's interesting. I mean, I'm glad the staff is conducting the training sessions, and I plan to attend one of them. But it's like a new car versus an old car. When you get in the old car, you turn it on and it runs. You get on a new car and it has all kinds of new functions and all kinds of capabilities. You turn it on and it goes. The Acela system should be the same. It should be having 90% reliability regarding these search functions and how do you access your records. All of your permits, all of your applications, they all go through Acela. So we are 100% dependent upon that system working and functioning correctly. I would ask that, it's not the city staff's problem. I think it's the software and an Acela, functioning problem. And we've asked you before, in October of 2022, we received a memorandum saying we were going to get the system fixed. And then in January of 2023, we got another memorandum saying we're going to get the system fixed. And we meet regularly with the building department and representatives from the IT department about Acela and trying to get it fixed. They need to really commit those resources from Acela to fix it. And I know, I'm speaking for a lot of different people who have to rely on that system. And sometimes when you have comments that come out, the comments come back to you and then you can't access the comments. So, it delays projects, it delays timing, it places you in jeopardy of scheduling and a number of other things. So the system, as you said, it's getting better. It needs to continue to be worked on and continue to be focused on to make it the best possible system. Tampa was one of the first communities to engage with Acela. We spend a lot of money in there. There aren't other options, so I'm not saying get rid of Acela. Get it fixed, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Noreen Copeland Miller, and I live at 1911 East Chelsea. And I was here this morning to speak on item number 57 about the Park and Rec Master Plan, because I was, and as you all talked about communication, it was not very clear and precise, especially when we talk about the Fair Oaks, whenever that project will get started. So I was hoping to be here to, about the master plan. But as the gentleman before me said, I've never been here this long, so I know I probably will miss this presentation, but I do want to thank you all for all the work that you've done, and thank you for the work that you will continue to do. I'm glad that I was here when I was listening to you, Councilman Carson, talking about reset, push the button and all that, and I'm hoping
to do that, because when I say good morning to all of you, I'm here to do it in a respectful manner. But I hope that things change and that you work together, because you work together with the cemetery, with the mayor and all that. So I thank you for that part. But this morning, I have to share with you the way I was treated by one of your council members this morning when I said good morning. And I'm hoping that they let that go, because if they don't, then what I said before during the campaign season is true. And, and I'm going to stand on that. And this morning, he certainly confirmed what I said about him was true, because he would not even say good morning. And anybody can do that in a nice way. I'm here because I'm going to continue to work in my community with my representative and all of you, because we are your constituents. We are not here to be your enemy. It takes all of us to make this city work. I do want to take the opportunity to invite you all. We're having a cleanup at Memorial Park Cemetery on the 27th. And I hope that you all are able to come. And I do want to thank Councilman Scalco before, because he's came out to want to clean us and was supportive. So, and as Mr. Williams said about the 30th, we're hoping that you all will be there as well. Because when you come into that cemetery, you will feel what we feel each time we go there. So thank you very much, Councilman and ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking forward to working with you. And I certainly hope the next time I say good morning, that you have the courtesy to return that same desire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So today was my first time experiencing the swearing in of the department heads, and it was interesting. So it was real nice. Ms. Noreen just mentioned that the word reset, right? So this is a great opportunity again, as I've stated before, that we reset and start anew. What's interesting is that there were concerns around communication, right? That's interesting to me, because the last couple of years, I've wondered, how is the city of Tampa getting this information out? How are they communicating? That's been a big concern of mine, and evidently is now a concern of a couple of the council members. If you're not thinking outside of the box, trying to communicate to everybody, a lot of mess gets lost. And that's what we have found. So there has to be, even in the department heads, not picking on you, Ms. Travis. Nicole Travis does a great job, because she has the will of the people. You cannot have these jobs in the city and let it be just a fly-by-night, just a job. You have to have the will of the people in order for you to push it through. Because if you have the will of the people, you're going to think outside of the box, you're going to try to make it happen. Whatever it takes, you're going to do it. That's why she's great at her job. And I'm just identifying her, no pun intended to the other departments. I just know her. But so in regards to communication, how is the information is getting out? And these are the citizens, right? Taxpayer money. So there should be a real effort in regards to information being dispersed. I mean, tests being done, something being done to make sure that the communities receive the information, not telling the communities to go to the website and check it. So that's one thing. Changing cultures. Right? I still call him Officer Bennett. But he mentioned that, right? Changing the cultures. You cannot change the culture from your lens. You have to be receptive and respect other people's lenses in order to even think about trying to change culture. Changing culture is hard, but you still have to have the will of the people that you're trying to get to change culture. That's very important. I just want to see movement. I've been here a while, and I'm happy with what's going on, but I want to see movement. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, we have two registered speakers, Eileen Henderson and Michael Randolph, correct? All right,
Mr. Randolph, if you could hear me, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Side Tampa CDC. Today, I come with a heavy heart in terms of the decision to eliminate the subcommittees for the CAC. When you reduce the committees, you reduce community input. It is the committees where the work is done. What would happen if the city council didn't have a subcommittee to prepare for the city council meeting? Black communities are going to be mostly affected by this decision to remove the subcommittees. The subcommittees are so important. It's the essence of community input. And by doing that, you, especially in West and East Tampa, which is African American community, you reduce the voice of the community. Point of fact, the Public Safety Committee is very important. Here's what we know. Black Americans die from gun violence at nearly 2.4 the rate of white Americans. On average, more than 12,000 Black people die from gunshot violence each year, with 15,000 deaths alone in 2021. Young Black men are the leading cause of death. In 2021, Black men between 14 to 24 died the most. Gun violence has been a leading cause of Black children's death as well. 67% of guns is related to Black kids. Homicide rates among Black women and girls are the same place. It is the subcommittee that moves the CAC. If you eliminate the subcommittee, you eliminate the voice. And people in Tampa, especially West and East Tampa, you need to listen, because this is where the voice in the community give its greatest support. When you reduce that, you reduce the community input. Now, Tampa is the best. Let's get better by making sure we reinstitute the CAC subcommittees that is the voice of the community. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. Next up, Eileen Henderson.
Ms. Henderson, if you could hear me, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning, Council. Eileen Henderson, founder of the Cemetery Society. First, I want to congratulate those returning to Council and those newly elected. Next, I want to extend a huge thank you for approving the purchase of Memorial Park Cemetery. While we all know this is something that most definitely should have been avoided, we are hoping everyone now sees the value in all efforts that were made to do the right thing. Adding Memorial Park Cemetery to Tampa's all-white collection of historic cemeteries was history in the making and a step in the right direction to recognizing, restoring, and preserving Tampa's Black history. The other thing of note that took place on May 4th, 2023, the day Council approved the purchase of the cemetery, was watching the executive branch and legislative branch work together for one common goal. I think most missed that history in the making. It was an important day and an important vote because for the first time in some time, we saw both branches recognizing their roles, respecting the duties of each, and together helping to resolve a call to action by constituents, your people. I am hoping that is the beginning of an overdue process of checks and balances between Tampa's executive and legislative branches. And bravo, Council members Carlson, Miranda, Maniscalco, and Hurtak. You all beat me to the punch. You expressed my sentiments eloquently and adequately this morning. Finally, the Cemetery Society, along with Friends of Belmont Heights Memorial Park Cemetery, are hosting a cleanup at the cemetery on Saturday, May 27th at 9 a.m. We were asked by Ellsworth Tony Williams with Veterans Counseling Veterans to do the cleanup. We gladly accepted that honor to help them prepare for the celebration of the 100-year monument at the cemetery of the Florida Negro World War Veterans Memorial, originally dedicated on May 30th, 1923. We want to extend a special invite to Councilwoman Henderson because this is her district. And of course, all other council members are invited to attend as well to support, once again, history in the making, most specifically, Black history in the making. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment. If I may have a motion to open 9:30 and 10:30 public hearings. Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, Councilman
Just
Vieira.
really fast, if I may, regarding the cleanup on the 27th, I think there may be two efforts that are on the same level. So, Tony, I'll just take, there's the firefighters and the veterans helping veterans, and so can we talk outside? Just outside. Thank you.
All right. At this time, if you're here to speak, and we'll do it all at once, on any of the public hearings, 9:30 or 10:30, please stand and raise your right hand so we can swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will go to item 54, again, by request. May I have a motion, if there's any, to receive and file any ex parte communications on item 54? No. Councilmember Miranda with the motion, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Good morning.
Is the interpreter present here today?
Yes.
She is. If we could have the interpreter sworn in, please?
Yes. I believe, were you sworn in? If not,
Well, for the interpreter, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the translation that you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I will.
great. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
And if I can, is the person needing the interpretation present here?
Yes,
Okay.
and she's already been sworn.
Okay, very good. Now, with regard to the conduct of the hearing, if we can allow the interpreter to be able to translate what is said so we don't all speak together, to give her the opportunity to have the applicant understand the process, and likewise, if there's anything she wishes to say, she share it with the interpreter, and the interpreter will translate. Thank you, Ms. Pettis-Mackle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kamaria Pettis-Mackle from the City Attorney's Office. Item number 54, file number DE1 2388, is a review hearing for a petition for review that was filed by Miguel and Rosita Lopez. They filed a petition for review regarding a decision of the zoning administrator regarding the property located at 2716 West Walnut Street. The request filed by Mr. and Mrs. Lopez was to allow vehicle access to the street in lieu of access to the alley in the rear of the property. Staff denied the application on February 6, 2023, on the basis that the application did not meet the criteria set forth in Code Section 27-241, subsection E2C5. I've previously provided City Council the following information. Code Sections 27-241, subsection E2C5 for alley access. Code Section 2760, alternative design exception. And Code Section 2761, the standard of review for review hearings. I've also provided sample motions in the rules of procedure for City Council to use in order to conduct this hearing. The standard of review, according to Code Section 2761, subsection J2, is a de novo standard of review, which means that City Council can accept new evidence, take public testimony, and make a decision to determine whether the petitioner meets the standards of the Tampa Heights Design Guidelines, and specifically Code Section 27-241, subsection E2C5. Staff is present to provide an overview of the application and the decision. Upon receiving all of the testimony and the evidence regarding this matter, City Council can take the following steps. City Council can affirm the decision of the zoning administrator and deny the request for the design exception because it does not meet the required code section. Or City Council can overturn the decision of the zoning administrator and thereby grant the design exception. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to staff. Mr. Cotton.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cotton.
Good morning, Council. Eric Cotton, Development Coordination. Before I get started, I want to introduce David Hunter, who's our new Urban Design Coordinator. In the future, you'll probably see him before y'all on some of the petitions for review versus me. So it's just it. So as following up on what Ms. Pettis-Mackle said, let me just put this up on the. So again, to all of this is a petition for review for design exception DE1 23-88. The petitioners are Miguel and Rosita Lopez for a property at 2716 West Walnut Street. The property is zoned residential single-family RS50 and is located in the West Tampa Overlay District. They are proposing to build a single-family home. Their code requirement is that in West Tampa, you should access the alley if it's an open and used alleyway versus the main street. Can do a quick aerial view of the property. This is Walnut. It's on the south side of Walnut between Tampania and Habana. Here's a little bit better photo of the area. You see the property. There is an existing alley network that you can see runs across from Tampania, runs behind these properties, and crosses over Habana and continues to the west. So the applicant proposed, this is the applicant's proposed site plan. There's a 14-foot alley in the rear. The house has been designed for accessing the main street off of Walnut, which again by code is not allowed. Specifically, the code section 27241 E2C5 states basically if an existing lot is adjacent to an open and used public alley, vehicular access to the alley shall be the site shall be provided from the alley as primary access. Just a photo of the property as it is right now. It's currently vacant. When staff did the review, this was the condition of the alley. There was some debris in the alleyway. You can see palm fronds and such. And there was some dirt and some clearing that needed to be done. More recent photos, and these were provided by a member of the public did email those to me today, yesterday. She is here to discuss the request, but just to highlight them, this is the alley as it sits today. It has been cleared. Does council have any questions for staff at this point?
Any questions from any council members? Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hurd.
Yes, ma'am. Does this property sit in the West Tampa CRA?
No, ma'am. It's in the West Tampa Overlay District, but not the CRA itself.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much. All right, does that conclude your presentation, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, we will now go to the applicant.
Let me ask.
Yes, sir.
May I ask, I'm looking at the whole thing, and I'd like to ask, this is a new lot that's vacant, and there's going to be a new home built, am I correct?
Yes, sir. It's a proposed single-family home.
So in doing that, I see that the alley is there, and it appears that it does have some driveway where you can actually drive. It was cleaned up just a little bit. Is the circumference of the alley wide enough to make the turns to go in? How many houses are there now that have access to the alley in the back for residents?
I'll show you the aerial again. It's a mix. It's a mixture of how it's been developed at this point. You can see some properties have driveways, some do not. it's a fair mix of how it's been developed. You can see this, the structure here, these homes here do not, or this is a church, but the homes here and here do not have a driveway. This house does. So it depends as you're driving down the street who has a driveway, who does not. Some access the alleyway. If you see some cars will just drive and park in the front, regardless of whether they have a driveway or not. But this was verified by Mobility that the Mobility did verify the alley is drivable and can be utilized for the access to that property.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Councilmember Clendon.
Yes, sir.
Has there ever been a house on this piece of property?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Is there a curb cut on the street?
I do not believe so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. All right, applicant? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Miladis. Y vengo a representar a la señora Rosita y a Miguel.
Good morning, my name is Miladis, and I come to represent Ms. Rosita and Miguel.
Ok. El señor Miguel tiene, como ya se habló aquí de los planos y eso, él está pidiendo que lo dejen hacer su garaje al frente, como muchísimas casas, porque todavía no hay casas como que se colindan a ese callejón, todas están selladas.
Mr. Miguel is requesting to have a driveway in the front of the house because as you were able to see the plans and the maps, the houses there don't have access through the back to the alley.
Y el señor es una persona mayor que tiene problemas para caminar, él usa bastón.
And he is an older gentleman who has mobility problems and uses a cane to walk.
Y nos gustaría a ver si nos dan una oportunidad, ¿tú me entiendes? Para ver si pueden hacer como las otras casas que tienen todo a su alrededor, porque ahí tiran mucha basura, sería todo un...
And we would like to see if we are given the opportunity to have a driveway in the front, because as you were able to see, in the alley, neighbors throw out trash and things like that.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the
¿Alguna
applicant?
pregunta para el aplicante?
I see none. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to public comment, and then we'll give you an opportunity for rebuttal after the fact.
A comentario público y usted puede refutar de nuevo, hablar de nuevo.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Should I speak slowly for the translator? If so, I don't want to be penalized. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Sandy De Diego Sanchez. I live at 2705 Thick Street. As most of you know, I'm a Tampa City Council nerd, so I happened to see this on the agenda, and I thought I should appear. On Tuesday afternoon, on my way to a West Tampa CAC meeting, I'm on the committee. I drove by the property and easily drove through the alley in my relatively new car. Results, no scratches. This alley is pretty clear everywhere except behind the applicant's property. I did not have to move a block that had fallen from a nuisance concrete wall. I do want to emphasize I am not here as a representative of the West Tampa CAC. I am here as a concerned citizen. But with that, I'd also like to say, even though this property is not within the West Tampa CRA, it is within the West Tampa overlay and is a city ordinance. The West Tampa overlay, under item 5, resident states, and I quote, driveway and alley access to all residential development shall be configured to minimize driveway proliferation, limit additional conflict points between vehicles and pedestrians, and prioritize safety of the pedestrian. If an existing lot is adjacent to an open, okay. If an existing lot is adjacent to an open and used public alley, vehicular access to this site shall be provided from the alley as the primary vehicular access point provided it meets minimum standards reference to section 27-283-12, off-street parking space standards, unquote. This property is directly across from the West Tampa Elementary School's pickup line. It would be in the interest of the safety of the children that alley access for parking be confirmed. In the applicant's request, they stated that other homes on the block have front driveways, and they do. These homes were built before the West Tampa overlay was designed. This particular project is right in the middle of the West Tampa Elementary School pickup line. I also noted that the applicant may have trouble walking on grass. I'm not sure why this is an issue, as I know of no ordinance that prohibits a concrete driveway from being built through the alley access design. Their site plan shows a paved driveway which could easily be adapted for the alley access. The pictures in the file from the city's past presentation show that the alley may have been overgrown, but you can easily stand in the middle of the alley and look to the east and the west to Tampania and Havana and see clarity there. The slight congestion in the alley is directly behind the applicant's property. I'm not sure why code enforcement hasn't noted the nuisance of the crumbling block wall, which is the applicant's responsibility. I ask you to continue to not deny this applicant's request in the interest of the school and adhering to the West Tampa overlay, which should guide you to make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker for public comment. We have no one registered. Is there anybody else here for this item? I see no one. Do we have any additional staff comment at this time? Or are you? No, sir? All right, we have rebuttal time. You have 5 minutes if you'd like to respond to anything at this time.
Yo, como veo tantos árboles, sería un mantenimiento al callejón extra para esa familia. No hay, eso no tiene concreto ni asfalto. Si tuvieran que hacerlo todo sería, yo vería mientras que todos lo tienen adelante en su casa.
I would see that access through the back and through the alley, an obstacle for that family. The trees and all the plants are overgrown, and they don't have the ability to keep up with the maintenance. And the rest of the house have an access through the front with a driveway. Why can this house not have it?
Anything else? Algo
¿Algo
más?
más? No, thank you.
All right. That will wrap up the rebuttal. Do we have any questions or comments before we ask for a motion to close the public hearing? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Ms. Pettis-Mackel gave you the packet to have in front of you in addition to the staff report. If you turn to what's marked at the bottom, page 3 of 4, is the criteria for you to apply for your analysis of your decision based on the evidence you have heard. And that, again, is sub 5.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to close this public hearing?
Motion to close.
Motion to close from Councilwoman Hurtak. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendon. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, would anybody like to make a motion at this time? Yes, ma'am, Councilmember Hurtak.
Okay, I am going to move to uphold the zoning administrator's denial of DE 12388 for the property located at 2716 West Walnut Street because the petitioner failed to provide competent and substantial evidence to demonstrate that the West Tampa Overlay District Development Design Standards for alley access in City of Tampa Code, Section 27-241 E2C5 should be waived for the following reasons. Health of an owner is not competent and substantial evidence because we're talking about the land, not the people who live there. And as evidenced by photographs and staff and mobility department agreement, the alley is accessible. It's wide enough to traverse, and the, so, yes, that's where I'll stop.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak. We have a second from Councilmember Carlson. Any discussion on the motion? Councilmember Miranda?
I just feel that, I certainly understand that there's a law with sample overlay, and I understand that. But when you look, and I'm not talking about this case particularly, when you look at this block or any other block that's got an alley, and you looked at everybody else can park up front, and I appreciate what the neighborhood is saying. I appreciate that they want to put the automobiles in the back so they see open, you can see more people walking the streets and playing and doing those sort of things. But when you look in the district, this is not where you come in and say, I'm going to do it. Tear down 50 acres and I'm going to do it the right way and I'm going to put all the parking in the back. There's something like that right there on Spruce and McDill Avenue, where that whole block where the Elver Martinez family used to have the house. Everything now is in the alley, and I appreciate that, and I think that works wonderful. But when you have a situation like this, either we're gonna have to, in my opinion, if I was a petitioner here, I would ask the city to give me compensation for putting it in the alley where everybody else, and ingress is through the front. So it's a law that works fine. If there was everything being cleaned out and you're building something new and it's done that way, but when you have to pick and choose what you have to do here, and no one else has that, I think about the what if. What if we turn it down or whatever, and it goes to court? What do you think the judge is going to do? The law is there, but where's the evidence that everybody's doing that? None. Just like when we do things in another, and I'll tell you another area, you go apply for a building permit or something that you want to do in repairing of a house, or you want to put pavers, or you want to do whatever. At the time of permitting, I don't know if they give you the information that if you have pavers, then you have to pay more and the tax for the runoff water or concrete, if you want to expand the front of it. And you do the permit, you follow what you have to do, and later on they knock on the door and say, you know what, you're violating the law because you ain't paying enough for the water runoff. And I agree with that. But I don't believe they're telling one hand, selling the other hand to address the public. The same thing with swales. You have a swale when you pass the thing, the approval of residents, and all of a sudden, guess what? You sell it to me, and I say, I don't like the swale, I'm gonna plant my flowers there. And I fill up the swale, and I flood both people on each side. No one told me anything when I bought the house. It's the same thing with court enforcement. You violate the law, and the individual who did it sells the house to me, I sell it to Guido, Guido sells it to somebody else, and that somebody else sells it to somebody else, and that person, they want you to do what I did wrong. So there's got to be some middle ground on items that we handle like this, not only on this case, but you have to have some understanding of compassion. When they bought this lot, did somebody tell them, here's what you had to do? I doubt it. There's where we're missing the action. Not that they're right or wrong, but where have we given proper notification to anyone, not about this case, anyone, what they have to do if you do something? That I know of, never. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. But there has to be something that has to be done going forward that these things not continue, I should say, in the mechanism of which we're now trying to do something that's better for society. I'm not saying it's not better. It is. But how do we equate that to the proper standards of the way you get things done? Only at time of permitting? Then after that, nobody checks it? When you sell the house to somebody else, it's not recorded in the courthouse that this is what you have to have. So I buy the house, I'm stuck with it. Those are the things that I don't particularly like because they're not saying the facts to the individual who's buying who has nothing to do with it. Not about this case. But these are the things that I look at, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm saying we have to change in the mechanism of which we do things so that everybody knows. Code enforcement is reactive, not proactive. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Councilmember Clinton.
Question, there,
No, it's discussion on the motion.
You have a question relating to
First-
the
We have to reopen the hearing.
That's-
I'll reopen
And that's
the hearing.
fine
Yeah,
too,
okay.
that's fine.
Well, okay, so maybe I'll restate my assumption, because it was my understanding that during the testimony, that the city disclosed that there were other houses on the street that had alley access.
And if you want to reopen that to
I move to
look at the-
reopen so the gentleman can have his
We have a
question
motion to
answered.
reopen, Councilman Miranda, we have a second, Councilman Henderson, all in favor?
Aye.
The hearing is reopened, yes, sir.
And did you want to see the overhead that was seen
You want
previously?
to see the image?
I'm okay with just, so, sir, when you testified, there were other houses on that street that had alley access and were utilizing alley access for their properties?
Here at Development Coordination, there are other properties that don't have driveways along the front. I did not drive the alley. I do not know if they have alley access or not, but there are other properties on that street that do not have driveways to the street. That would lead me to believe they are parking in the rear, or they would have access to the rear. Or, as I think I indicated, there are some people who just park in their front yard, they pop the curb and just park in their grass.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we ask for another closing of the hearing? Yes, ma'am?
I'm just trying to figure out, was this alley actually cleared for the sake of the presentation today? Because it appears to me to be a very weak cleaning of an alley in terms of access. It's a bare minimum type of cleanup to say, oh yeah, it's accessible.
Development Coordination, I am not aware who cleaned the alleyway. The photos I originally showed that showed some brush and such in the alleyway, that's the situation it was when staff reviewed the request initially, and we denied the request to have access off of Walnut. The alley is accessible. Alley maintenance or cleanup, like getting rid of trash and debris and such, by code is the responsibility of the adjacent property owners. I'm not sure if Clean City went out and cleaned the alley, the West Tampa CRA, even though it's not in the CRA cleaned it. I don't know who cleaned the alleyway on this one.
Motion to close?
We have a motion. Yes, ma'am, anything else? No? Motion to close from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilmember Carlson, all in favor? Aye. We had a motion on the floor from Councilmember Hurtak with the second from Councilmember Carlson. Was there any other discussion?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
So, I have, in all deference to our colleague on discussion on this issue, I have to go with the fact that the overlay district is a joint agreement with the community that was established, through the public process, and an understanding of how people within this area are going to live and be held accountable for their property. So I'm empathetic with the petitioner's plea and their circumstance, but I believe that we have to conform with the overlay district and the standards that we've set. It's what we've decided as a community that we're gonna hold property owners in the overlay district accountable to. So I'll be voting in favor of upholding the zoning administrator's decision on this property.
Thank you very much. Anything else? We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak. This is to uphold the denial. Second from Councilmember Carlson. Let's have a roll call vote.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Vieira, Miranda,
No.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
and Maniscalco.
No.
Motion carried with Vieira, Miranda, and Maniscalco voting no.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to go to the consent agenda. And we will begin with Councilmember Vieira, our Chair for Public Safety. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hurtak.
Before we start consent agenda, I was wondering if we could get the Nelson Construction in before lunch, because they have been waiting here since before.
I'm going to do the consent agenda, go to items 6 and 7, then we'll go to Nelson, and then before we break for lunch, 3 minutes for Chief Bennett for the administration update. Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, in this first section on items number 12 and 13, my firm works with the school district, not on these matters and not on anything related to the city of Tampa, but just an abundance of caution. I'm going to step out on 12 and 13. I'd appreciate if you all could just vote on those separately, and I'll vote on the rest.
Okay, so Councilmember Vieira, can you move items 8 through 11 and 14 and 15?
Yes, sir. I move 8 through 11 and
Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. All right, Councilmember Carlson, step out of the room, and we'll take items 12 and 13 separately. Yes, sir. Councilman Vieira, 12 and 13.
Yes, sir, I move 12 and 13.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, Parks and
We
Rec.
can-
Our
I'm sorry,
chairwoman
I'm sorry,
is
Mr. Chairman.
Councilmember Henderson.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
if we could just have the clerk announce the vote on 12 and 13, please.
For items 12 through 13, motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Henderson, 16 and 17, please.
Yes, I move items 16 and 17.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next up, Councilmember Hurtak. You're the Chair of Public Works.
Yes, I move items 18 through 27.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Finance Committee, Chairman Miranda.
Thank you. Items 28 to 31, 32 is taken care of.
All right. We have a
Second.
motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, Councilmember Carlson, you are Chair of Building and Zoning. We move all items except 45 and 38. We
Second.
have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Next up, Chairman Clendenin, Transportation.
I move items 46 through 47.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we'll just take number 48. This is to set the public hearing for this resolution, PH 23-81599, for June 8th, 2023 at 5:01. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from
Second.
Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, at this time, we're going to go to 6 and 7. Then we're going to take Nelson Construction and the Chief of Staff. Well, we might have even more time. So item number 6. This is for a substitute ordinance. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. And Council, item number 6 is a privately initiated text amendment. This item is before you this morning for first reading. I'd like to just put up, just to refresh council's memory, and just because we have a couple of new council members, just the processing schedule for this particular item, and just to bring you to why we are here today. So you can see that this item was heard before the council at a workshop in November of 22. It went to Planning Commission for public hearing in January of 23. At that time, Planning Commission voted to find the request consistent with the comprehensive plan. This item came to council for first reading in February, on February 2nd. At that time, the applicant requested to continue this item to allow for additional outreach and also to make certain modifications to the language. And so this request is back before you this morning for first reading again, and if this is approved, second reading will be held on June 15th. So I just wanted to review that timeline with you, council. Also, I have provided for you staff findings. Within those findings, you'll find that staff supports the request that has been submitted by the applicant. The applicant is Alex Shaler and Tyler Hudson, and Alex is here to present for you the request. Also provided for you is a draft ordinance. The draft ordinance has been substituted. I have copies here I'm going to provide for the record. It has been modified to exclude some of the changes that were made to the language since the first ordinance was uploaded for you. So I have that, and I'll provide that to you in the record. And what I'll do with that is turn it over to Alex Shaler. She's here, and she's the applicant, and she'll review her request.
Thank you very much.
May I
Yes,
just-
Mr. Shelby?
Yes, may I just follow up on that? When you say a draft ordinance, was that sent through SIRE? Has that been filed with the
was.
clerk?
Yes.
Okay, so it's really, it's a substitute ordinance for first reading?
Yes, and I just have the hard
Hard
copies in
copies?
case.
Okay, thank you.
I have substitute here. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Council. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. I had LaShawn run through some of the dates for the background on this request, but I filed this back in January of 2022, so we've been working on this for quite some time, a little bit over a year, with some of the community stakeholders as well as staff who've been very supportive and have helped us tweak this language, tweak the geographic location as well. So The request that we have before you today, the northern boundary is still Palm, eastern boundary, the Ybor Channel in Nebraska. However, the southern boundary now, as you can see, is the Garrison Channel, and the western boundary is going to be the Hillsborough River. So for a little bit of background here, this request applies to multifamily projects in the CBD periphery. However, since we were here before you last, we have narrowed the scope of this request. We have removed Harbor Island entirely from the request, as well as the land west of the Hillsborough River, specifically University of Tampa property, just based off requests that we received from them. They were not the intended beneficiaries of this application originally. This was, like I said, just more for the overall CBD periphery, but just to make this a little bit more straightforward, those areas have been removed from this request today. The amendments that we have before you are related to parking, loading, and green space. I believe a lot of these code sections will be very familiar to you. These are a lot of the waivers that we've requested on our urban PDs in the past. And also to set the table a little bit, this application is not related to any specific project that's upcoming. This doesn't precede any specific development. However, this was us reviewing our PDs that we file in the urban core and realizing that, hey, we're requesting a lot of these waivers for a lot of these same code sections. Let's change the code to apply to more urban development. So the first request is in regards to parking. What we're requesting for that specific geographic area that I went over earlier within the CBD periphery is that multifamily projects within that specific area are able to be held to the same parking requirements for multifamily in the CBD. So that's currently 0.75 spaces per unit. We're also asking to be eliminated from the visitor parking requirement. This isn't something that is a new introduction to land in the CBD periphery. Currently, some of the special districts, namely Ybor City and Channelside, don't currently include that 0.25 spaces for visitor parking either. So we're just, again, requesting that some of these other areas, namely Tampa Heights, that's left in that geographic area, be waived from the visitor parking requirements as well. The next request is in regards to loading. Again, these should be very, very familiar code sections to you. What we are proposing is that no more, or the developments, regardless of size or square footage, are able to just use a single loading berth for the development. We're also asking to remove the continuous maneuver requirement as well. Again, waivers that you've seen quite often here. And the last request is in regards to green space. Currently, the way the code reads, for buildings that are greater or 6 stories or greater are allowed to use a percentage of the land left over after the building footprint calculation. However, some projects that aren't as tall, less than 6 stories, are held to a per unit calculation the way the code reads. So what we are proposing is that all multifamily within that geographic area within the CBD periphery be able to capitalize on that percentage of parcel area calculation instead of a per unit calculation. And I think a really good comparison for this, I was trying to break this down and not be so technical in terms of the math, but if you think about it, when projects come before you for areas like this in the CBD periphery, mostly you'll see density being proposed as FAR instead of per units. And this is kind of a similar comparison for green space here in what we're asking, because as you can see, this is just an example on the plan, and these are estimated numbers. But what would be required green space for a development of 100 units if it's shorter than 6 stories would be 1.72 acres. However, if it's calculated by the percentage calculation, it would only be required about 0.13, 0.14 is what we usually see for our urban projects. Again, because these developments, regardless of land size, the building footprints are pushed so far out with these reduced setbacks for projects just outside of the urban core. So that concludes the presentation. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well.
Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only, I remember something about this area when I saw the map. Is this the one where the developer can park the car anywhere they like in the public parking?
So we took that portion out from the request. So in addition to the geographic area being limited, we also narrowed the scope of the actual request. The original application did include language that would allow 25% of on-street parking to count towards your zoning parking. That was a little bit confusing in terms of being able to park in the public. And again, it wasn't meant to say that only the development can park in the public. It was essentially saying these would still be street spots, still be public parking, but that they could count towards the zoning required ratio. But that has been removed. I think that'll be visited later in a larger code update.
I was thinking when I saw that, I said, they're not bringing this up. I wonder why. Now I'm glad you addressed it, but this must be something that's coming up that we don't know about.
I think it'll be addressed later in a larger update.
And you know, I remember taking the heat, voting against something that I really liked, And at that time, the parking was close to the University of Tampa, and a building that's going up, and they wanted .04, and they came back with .02. And people say, we don't need parking anymore. Well, I always tell myself, well, we don't. Why do we have a traffic problem? I mean, I'm trying to be logical. I'm not smart. I never said I am. And I just look around what my eye sees and try to relate it to my little one-cell brain, and it tells me, you know what? Maybe your eyes, you got to go see a doctor, get new glasses, because you're seeing something that's not there. Well, we have more accidents, more people getting in accidents than ever before. And that, I'm not blaming anybody, but we got other things in life that was never used before, like, you know, texting while you're driving, trying to light your cigarette, text, and drive at the same time, trying to find out where you're going because you can't see because all cars are around you, and you still want to text and drive and smoke all at the same time. That's why you're having accidents. But I don't know the context of everything here because it's all, you got a lot of pages, and I'm not saying you're right or not right, but there's so much thing to allow, you know, 1,500 square foot per VUA on a partial. That's one thing. The loading dock, I can understand the loading dock things because sometimes they want 2 60-footers or 130. And you say, well, why that? Well, let me give you an example. You go down Ashley Street, when you get to Jackson, you make a left. You're lucky you don't hit, first of all, what the city put out there like an island, so they say, hit me, I'm here. And then you have loading docks right next to it, and the traffic backs up all the way because you have 3 loading docks, and there's only somebody in them. And one of them's completely full because it's the one that throws in the remains of something so that the people from solid waste can remove it, and I understand all that. But it's got to be done somewhere where we don't impede traffic anymore. I'm sure you're with this, and I'm sure this is helping. And that's what I like to see. I like to see the traffic being moved, but at the same time, don't create something for the others that want to get from point A to point B, and then a semi in front of them right at 8:30 in the morning, backing in or out of a building. And we're growing, and thank God we are. It offers the opportunities for your grandkids, kids, and future family of yours to stay here in Tampa, a wonderful place to live, #1 in the country just about in everything. But I like to commend you for taking that out, relating to the parking of cars on public right-of-way, and I think it was just, before we use the public right-of-way, everybody's entitled to it. Well, that's true. That's before you built your building. But after that, it's your responsibility to take care of whatever you're building. So I appreciate what you're saying. And is anything else that might create my hairs a curl? Or is that it?
I think that's it. And I will say too, for the loading, I mean, this is for predominantly multifamily projects. So, you know, it's not kind of these big commercial food, hotel drop-offs.
I understand that. I'm not against that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Councilman Carlson.
Could you go back to, one of the first slides has a map on it? Yeah, that one, go back.
This one?
Oh, no, go back, the one you just had, yeah, that one. Yeah, first of all, thank you for taking Harbor Island out of it. But what I just realized is that this includes the maritime land along the channel. Just to tell my colleagues, there's a movement by people who don't understand economics to shut down the port, and starting with that period along there, they just got 5 pages in the Business Journal the other day about how the cruise industry is so stupid and it's backward, and if we could just get rid of the ugly stuff across the channel. And I'm going to come back with some proposals to protect the land. The land at the end of the channel was rezoned 15 or 20 years ago, and so we can't protect that. But the land on both sides of the channel, we need to protect at all costs. What you can't see in this map is that's a peninsula to the right, and all the land in the port has been designated already, and there's land they're going to reclaim through dredging. All that's been designated. So there's an argument, oh, we can just move that ugly stuff somewhere else. There is nowhere else to move it. And so I'm going to come back and discuss that for another day. But I want to ask the applicant and also legal, what is the implication of this to that land there along the strip of the channel where the cruise terminals are now? Is this going to accelerate somebody's political agenda to come in and rip out the important blue-collar jobs in the port, or is it to build condos, or is it just happen to cover this if something changes in the future?
I can just address this initially too before you add something. As mentioned, this is not, I mean, I filed this personally. This is not related to its specific application. So that's, again, the scope of this is just parking, loading, and green space, just from the applicant's perspective, but I'll definitely let you speak to that too. Yes.
This would, Dana Crosby Collier, City Attorney's Office. This would be related to an application coming in for multifamily for this area.
Yeah, so my concern is, does this make it easier for somebody to rip out the cruise terminals and build multifamily there? Or is it only if that happened, then they would be able to follow these rules?
That's correct. It would require the rezoning and then the application, the site plan, everything to be taken into account. And then as the development started to be entitled at that point in time, this type of regulation would kick in.
Yeah, again, I would, this is quasi-judicial, I think, so I can say, it's
No,
not,
it's a-
okay.
I want to chime
Okay.
in just to let you know, this is a broad applicability. It is legislative, it is not quasi-judicial, but it does have the effect of code requirements that apply to developments when they come in for whether it's site plan or permitting.
Yeah, I just have so it's legislative, that's what I meant, sorry. I got off a plane late last night. The point is that there are people that want to replace low-level service high-level blue-collar jobs with low-level service jobs because somebody's going to make a quick buck on condos in the short run. And there's plenty of place in downtown to build condos. There's no place else to move the maritime industry. We have a limit of deep water channels. This is one of them. We need to protect at all costs that land. And the idiots who are pushing for this, we need to push back at them and tell them that we cannot give up high-paying blue-collar jobs. In 50 or 100 years, we're going to need more land for the maritime industry, not less. It's a strategic issue. Imagine if suddenly we have to get all of our oil from Miami. How is that going to change us in a hurricane and other kinds of situations? We have to resist the attempts to try to take out the maritime industry, and they're just getting rid of the cruise industry is the tip of the iceberg. They want to go after the rest of it. There's plenty of land. We need to make sure we focus this on other areas, but I want to send a message loud and clear. I'm going to do everything I can to fight for the maritime land. Again, at the end of the channel, that up by the settlement, that was rezoned 15 or 20 years ago. We can't protect that, but all the other land on both sides of the channel, I'll have 1,000 people in here if I have to fight any attempts to convert that. It's an idiotic proposal. Thank you.
Councilman Clendon.
Only 1,000? Yeah, we'll go to the convention center.
On that issue, I think we can live to fight another day on that, and maybe we'll have further discussions about best use of land. But on this proposal, this is exactly the kind of thing, when I ran for city council that I wanted to encourage. I may only have been on council for a few weeks, but I've been a political geek and I've watched these meetings for a long time. And one of the things that's frustrated me as a citizen is we keep having to go back to process, even though we keep approving things over and over and over again. So if we're routinely approving something, why don't we change the rules to conform with what the real world is? So I applaud the folks that have been involved in this, and I hope as we look further in the procedures over the next few years that we look for other opportunities to streamline process and do better work for both the people that live here and the people that do business in the city of Tampa. So I think this is the right direction, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shelby.
And just a reminder, council, this is on for first reading consideration, and it is not a public hearing, but it will come back if it's approved by council for a second reading and public hearing. And obviously, between now and then, you have opportunity to hear from your constituents and at the public hearing if there are any issues.
Yes, Mr. Carlson.
Can I just ask a technical question? Is it possible to move the eastern boundary between first and second reading?
LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. As far as the boundary, it is a privately initiated text amendment. The applicant can state if they agree to amend the boundary, again, to eliminate that eastern portion, but the applicant.
What I would propose is just north of the aquarium, you take the land between the channel and Channelside Drive, and you just draw a line in the middle of it up to where that inlet is up there, and just say that the cruise terminal areas are excluded from it.
I will say that those are all in the channel district, so a lot of this stuff is already there in the code. in terms of reduced loading requirements, reduced parking, and specific green space codes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna vote against it. And before the Business Journal writes a story about how I'm against developing downtown, I am in favor of keeping the maritime industry, which is a much bigger industry than building a few condos in downtown. And so please quote me on that. Thank you. I'm gonna vote against it.
Thank you very much. Anything else? No? I guess that's it. We don't take public comment. It's not a public hearing. So if we could have someone read the substitute ordinance. Councilmember Miranda, would you like to read it?
Well, I just want to make sure that, and I understand, one, that the building that was, the individuals that run the port, that's a multi-billion-dollar operation for the whole area, not only for the city of Tampa, but it has much more tentacles going out, and what they do there, it's not just cruise ships. It's a lot of things that they do all over the area that they, more likely, they're the largest employer indirectly in the city of Tampa because of not what they do themselves, but how many corporations work out of there and have people that they hire and do other things. So I'm not against this out. They took the parking out, which was one that was bothering me, but I want to make sure that we have some type of guidance that the port is not going to be in any way hindered. That's all I want.
Abby Feely, Deputy Administrator, Development and Growth Management. I'm trying to yield in on what the concern is related here so that I might be able to either answer that question or we could, right now the port property is in the Channel District. It is owned and operated by the port. Should the port ever want to do anything else on that property, they would need to come and rezone, which would come before you in that instance for any sort of waivers or other standards to be applied to this property. So the Channel District has its own code. You saw one rezoning for them last Thursday night, which had some waivers on it. So if you could just elaborate a little bit, I want to be sure that I'm answering the question. I want to be sure I understand any implications that maybe you might think would be happening through this text amendment.
Well, it's very difficult to get into a conversation with yourself or anyone else when this is just a conceptual, but you don't know what's happening because we're doing something in a way that's normal, but abnormal when you look at it. So the one you alluded to last Thursday was on the northern west side of the yellow line on the east side of this map. And if I remember, that passed unanimously. It was 225 or 227 units, if I recall. And there was three items on that they did in that building. One was residential, one was a hotel, and I forgot the third one. But, and it passed, I believe, unanimously. When you have something like this, it's like looking at a ghost. You hear a voice, but you don't see a body. And I'm not trying to be comical, but that's in essence what it is.
No, so I think I understand, but so what this text amendment is saying that is for multifamily parking within the periphery area that in lieu of, and I think it's in the analysis LaShawn provided for you, I reviewed. Right now, if you had 100 one-bedroom units in that area, you would owe 175 spaces, right? With this amendment, if you have 100 units, you owe 75 spaces. So it's changing the parking ratio for when those projects come in. So right now, if that project had 75 spaces and it came in for rezoning, it'd be asking you for a waiver, right? 175 to 75, and then you would consider that. It's just changing the ratio that they get to use to be similar to the central business district ratio. But it would have to happen as the projects are happening. Is that?
Well, there again, and I'm not here to, you're much more knowledgeable than I am. I always think, and I said again, the what if. What if this is allowed and goes up? And what if the calculations were wrong? You go from 175 to 75, right? Mm-hmm. So you're missing 100 parking spaces, right? So where are they going to park? Underground?
This is a challenge we face when you issue waivers also, and we say, okay, they really needed 60 spaces and we waived down to 4 and now it's not operating, and that's something we have to speak to developers about too, and saying, you need to be realistic in the operation of your multifamily and the operation of your commercial, how that is supported. But this would be on a per request type of basis, and I don't believe it would have any adverse impact on the port, as they control that property, and any future development would then be coming either to you or would be functioning under the channel district zoning that they currently have. So, but I just wanted, if I could clarify anything else, I'd love that opportunity. If not, obviously it's your choice this morning on how you would like to proceed with this.
Councilwoman Henderson.
Yeah. I would like to request that I be given 2 more additional weeks to learn more about this and the effects around the area. If that's okay with council, is that a motion or?
You wanna continue this?
Yes, continue for at least 2 weeks so that I can learn more about this to make a better decision.
Mr. Shelby, that's appropriate, correct? I don't see any problem with it.
That's correct.
Okay,
This is a privately initiated amendment, so I would ask that the
Yeah, Ms.
applicant come and
Shaler,
speak to that if they're willing to take the continuance.
would you be amenable to a continuance to June 1st? That is our next city council regular session.
Sure, that's fine.
All right. Any objection from council? If not, I'll take a motion. We have a motion to continue this item, item number 6, to June 1st. We'll put it at the beginning of the agenda under committee reports, consent agenda items. Do we have a second? Second. Second from Councilmember Clendenin. Councilmember Carlson, did you have anything to say? No, I seconded it before. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So let me take that back. Councilwoman Henderson with the motion, second from Councilmember Carlson, all in favor? Aye. This is to continue this to June 1st. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just one more last comment. As you all are researching this by itself is not going to allow development where the cruise terminals are. And yes, the port controls the land and they would have to jump through a lot of hoops. But city council, sorry, you all can't see where I'm pointing, but 15 or 20 years ago allowed the most valuable piece of property. It was privately owned, the one at the northern part of the channel, that was rezoned. And that should not have been rezoned back then. It's too late. We can't undo that, and that is going to be developed as something else. But we don't have any other land for the maritime industry to move to. And if we allow someone to go where the cruise terminals are and build condos, it'll be nice when it's first done because somebody will make a lot of money and people have waterfront views. But they're going to have a view of all the stuff across the street. And what we found is that the closer and closer we get, people complain about the ugly stuff across there. There's nowhere else to move it. It is a strategic industry. It's thousands of high-paying blue-collar jobs. Just with the one in the northern part there, that's about 500 high-paying blue-collar jobs. We're not going to replace those. The reason is always, oh, we're just going to move them somewhere else. That business, unfortunately, the founder passed away. It's not really going to exist as it is anymore. I recommend that you all go talk to the port about the dangers of encroaching on this. All this would do is if I would vote for it if it excluded that port property right up to that little inlet. But other than that, I don't want to do anything that will make it easier for someone in the future to convert that property. Thank you.
May I just answer Councilman Carlson for a moment? You brought this up when we were doing the comp plan update, the maritime protection, and I know that's on our list that we're working with the Planning Commission to make sure we have policies that address that protection. So I do, as just a parallel to this, we are continuing to track that and ensuring those protections as we move through the comp plan update as well. So,
yeah, and what I encourage everybody to do, sit down with the port, look at the map of the entire area all the way down to Apollo Beach. There's no more land. Everything that's there, even the reclaimed land they're going to add, all of it's been allocated already. There's no room to grow. So if we say we're going to move, we're just going to get rid of that, there's no more room. So what we're going to do is shrink our port in the next 1,500 at a time when we need more of it. We have to think about a dynamic economy and not just an economy with one leg, which is real estate development. Real estate development is critically important. Look at all the great things that have happened in downtown, and we need more of it, but not to take away the maritime land. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This item has been continued to June 1st. We'll go to item number 7. This is just a Scrivener's error, I believe.
So move.
Wait.
Good morning, Council. Kate Wells with the Legal Department. And yes, item number 7 is an ordinance correcting a Scrivener's error in the legal description that was included in REZ 22-31, which was approved by Council on November 3rd of 2022. The change in the legal description does not impact how this was advertised for the hearings in 2022, nor does it require an amendment to the site plan. So we would ask council that you approve the ordinance. And I know Mr. Porter, the applicant's agent, is present if you have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Porter, anything? No, sir? Any questions, comments? If not, Councilman Carlson, would you like to read item number 7?
Sure. I'd like to move item number 7, file number REZ 22-31, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, and ordinance amending ordinance number 2022-205, which rezoned the property in the general vicinity of 4848 East Bush Boulevard and 9214 North Hialeah Road in the city of Tampa, Florida, in order to correct a scrivener's error in the legal description of Exhibit A to said ordinance and replacing same with the
Second.
attached and corrected Exhibit A, providing effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson and a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Vieira, and Maniscalco.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on June 15th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. We're now going to item number 58, which is Nelson Construction, to appear and provide an update. Then we're going to go to the Chief of Staff for a quick administrative update, and then we're going to stop and break for lunch. Mr. Baird.
Good morning, City Council. Brad Baird, Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure. Here to give an update on Southeast Seminole Heights Stormwater Improvement Project. I have with me Will Stock of Nelson Construction to first provide an update, and then we have online, we have Brian Hunter with DOT, and they'll provide a short update of the work they have ongoing out there as well. And Will?
Mr. Stock.
Should be able to be seen, right?
Can you zoom out just a little bit?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think they do it in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Okay.
Here you go.
All right, give you guys an update on the project as we stand right now. On Riverside Park, the work is almost complete except for grass plugs in the turf block driveway. It's right here, as well as a little bit of sod that needs to be replaced as well along the right-of-way. On Crest, work is complete except for the final lift of asphalt in the Highland intersection. On Frierson, water main is completely connected to the city's system. All the remaining curb inlets that were waiting for the old water main to be taken out of service have now been installed. Road building is underway with the first couple of blocks of curbs scheduled for next week and asphalt scheduled for 3 to 4 weeks from now. On Florida Avenue, the work has been delayed there until the Nebraska work is completed. The stormwater inlet work should begin the week of June 5th. And about 2 to 3 weeks after that, we should have the final lift of asphalt down. On Central Avenue, south of Hillsborough, portion there, all road building is now complete, including between Wilder and Caracas. Some punch-out work remains before we're ready for the milling, before we're ready to mill the rest of the road and put down the final lift of asphalt, which is about 3 weeks from now. Caracas between Central and I-275, a little portion right there in front of the high school. That road is completely built and the first lift of asphalt was installed a couple weeks ago. From River to the interstate, we're about 3 to 4 weeks away from having all the asphalt work completed in the whole southwest quadrant. Miami and Osceola, up on the northeast, are completely paved. All work there is complete. On Cherokee, little portion right here, all permeable paver work is complete and all the asphalt has been completed except for a 20 by 20 patch at the Idlewild intersection. Thank you. Central north of Hillsborough, work in the Comanche intersection is almost complete. The box culvert work is almost complete from Comanche to Henry. Water main has been installed from Hillsborough to Powhatan, and starting on March 30th, we'll be jumping up to Paris to work from Paris to Hannah, and on Hannah in front of Seminole Elementary School while the school is out for the summer, starting back on August 10th. That's this zone up here at the top. On Caracas, east of the interstate, the first lift of asphalt was installed from Taliaferro to the alley behind the laundromat. On Nebraska, we are on schedule to have Nebraska paved and reopened on June 1st, if not before. Seminole Heights, east of Nebraska, that's the southeast Seminole Heights neighborhood right here. We started work on Caracas, east of Nebraska in early April. And we'll be starting back there again tomorrow. We also started work on 12th Street, installing 24-inch water main this week, which will be followed by a 48-inch storm. It's taking place right there. Work on 9th and Ellicott will begin in a few weeks, and work on Louisiana may begin in a few weeks as well with water main installation. That's it as far as an overall project update goes. Councilwoman Hurtak, I know you had a few questions for us as well. One of them having to do with the unfinished work on Florida Avenue. As we stated, once Nebraska opens, work should begin by the week of June 5th. And we have about 2 weeks of work redoing the inlet tops there before we can install the final lift of asphalt, which should be installed by mid-June. There was a request for a reimbursement for soft washing houses, soft washing and pressure washing of homes along the construction route. This was not part of our original contract or specifications, and it's also not standard for roadway reconstruction projects that are let by the city or by DOT. Contract admin department has made it clear that they don't intend to pursue or to reimburse any of the claims for pressure washing or soft washing of homes. There was a question about frequent interruption of internet. A lot of those have been due to utilities that were not marked along the right-of-way. The communication companies often don't mark the lines that, or I should say they never mark the lines that connect individual homes to their system. And we've had issues going back and forth on them not updating their locates through the 811 system on a monthly basis. Because of this, we are going to occasionally interrupt service, and we work with communication companies to get the service reconnected as quickly as possible. We also have a mobile hotspot router that we're loaning to residents until they're able to get their service reconnected. There were questions about the punch list on Crest Avenue. We just finished the ADA ramp on the northwest corner of Highland and Crest, as well as the adjacent driveway apron. There's a little bit of final grading and sodding that will be taking place there over the next few days. And the only other punch list items that we're aware of involve a bent weatherhead at 322 and changing the pitch of a driveway at 102 Crest. There was an individual, there was a question about how long it takes for claims to get responded to for reimbursement. Average length of time is typically about a month. If it goes to our insurance carrier, sometimes it can linger a bit longer than that. Another question about High Linear Park. We have some sidewalk that was sidewalk damage that was pre-existing to the project, as well as curb damage down at the cul-de-sac. That's scheduled to all get replaced, as well as the entire cul-de-sac at the end of River will be mowed and resurfaced. There was a little bit of area where we had some sod in a muddy area that continued to get driven over, and cars parking on top of it, which killed the sod. So that sod area will be resodded. Did you want to speak on the last one?
Sure. The last question was on concern about potential damages to house and house foundation. We have made the decision, Councilwoman, to institute vibration monitoring going forward. And I will say that as we move forward with construction, the remaining construction is smaller diameter pipeline, a little bit less intrusive. It should not be a problem, but we're, as an insurance policy, going to use seismographs and provide that assurance to our residents. And with that, if we could have Brian Hunter, if he hopefully is online there.
Yes, if we can bring
He
him
is.
up, I saw him
He's
on
on
the
there.
screen.
And Brian, I would ask you to be as brief as you can. I know they have a hard stop right at noon.
Brian Hunter with the Florida Department of Transportation. Can you all hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you for having us today. We have been happy to partner with the city of Tampa on this project and move this forward so that the drainage issues down in this area can be addressed and tie into our future improvements that we are planning to do on the Florida and Tampa corridor. And we've had very good communication and coordination on these projects as it went from planning, design, all the way through to construction. So thank you very much for being a fantastic partner with the FDOT.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And with that, any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Herter.
Thank you so much. We're trying to provide our questions that we gather from the public in advance to allow you to prepare responses. So I greatly appreciate your attention to that and the responses you're able to give. As far as the mobile hotspot, if someone needs that, how do they connect? How do they reach out to get that?
Through the project hotline.
Okay, so project hotline. As far as requests for reimbursement or concern, you say they could take up to a month. Is there at least a process that says, hey, we got your claim? Or just something like that so people know that it's in process?
Yes, ma'am. We respond immediately, letting people know that their claim is under review.
Okay.
So we do provide those immediate responses back to them. through
Okay,
the
is there
project
any
hotline.
update, like every couple of weeks, whether it be just an automatic thing, just so people know that they're being heard?
We'll double check on that, and we can make sure that's instituted moving forward, no problem.
Okay. And then we had a request, which I think it's probably about time and due again, for possibly reaching out to, especially those Florida Avenue businesses that are struggling with where that the concrete or the resurfacing hasn't happened yet, and then the Nebraska area, to maybe reach out to those businesses again, like a door-to-door, just say, hey, how are things going? Is there anything that there's a concern about? And then I might also recommend doing that along Central, where folks are having the internet outages and things like that, just to kind of maybe let them know right away that, hey, the hotspot's in availability to you. Let us know as soon as you find out about these things. Sometimes, as we learned with the Crest Avenue issue, that if we just knock on doors and just have those quick conversations, a lot of the confusion can be mitigated, and getting that information just in person is always so helpful.
Definitely.
So, and then I would certainly absolutely do that again for the Hannah and Paris Street issue right before closing Hannah down during the summer. That's a huge pass-through that many people use. So that's going to be an area of concern. I know the businesses in that area are also concerned. They've already seen a drastic loss in foot traffic, so that's going to extend for the summer. So certainly reaching out to them individually would be really wonderful.
That was already on our agenda for the work in that area, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And do you by any chance have plans for maybe a midsummer review public meeting again? Possibly once Nebraska's done in that area, so that the folks in Southeast Seminole Heights can get a little more, now that they're more in the thick of things, have that opportunity to come and bring questions and concerns?
Absolutely. We have a meeting scheduled for mid-August. I believe we're finalizing the date as we speak, working with contract admin department on that.
Wonderful. If you could certainly let my office know as soon as you have that, we will pass it along. I know it will also be on your website, but we will certainly make sure that information gets out. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation and your update. My questions have been answered. Tuesday morning, we did a ride-along together through the neighborhood, and you addressed everything you've addressed here, but I saw it in person. We went through those areas that are most affected. I stopped and I talked to neighbors after the fact, and, got updates from them and let them know, especially on Caracas and Ellicott and all these other streets. So, thank you for being so communicative and responsive. And I know this is extremely challenging. It's very frustrating to, the neighborhood, but I'm glad to see that, progress is continuing to be made, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, like the chairman said, thank you, and, these things are necessary. This project is saving the city, although the expense is high, but the pipes down there were 80 to 100 years old, and we're spending about $25 million on it 5 or 6 years ago, just going after, not replacing, but repairing the pipes. And it breaks today, and 5 feet later from there, it breaks on the other side. So these are necessary things, and when it's complete, the city of Tampa will be one of the more likely best underground, which nobody sees, but we pay the price because all of us, that we don't see the pipes, but the water lines and the tertiary treatment line going to the plant, they'll all be changed and be one of the finest cities in the world already, like it is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for what
very
you're
much.
doing. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hurd.
I just wanted to make sure, do I need to make another motion to make this come back again next month? Yes? Okay. Yes, I find that the public, it's just a really nice chance to stop and say, hey, what's going on?
How about the June 15th meeting?
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion to have folks come back June 15th for another update. Again, it's a good spot for the public to know too, to tune in. So I appreciate you continuing to come and update and be willing to share. We greatly appreciate it.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilwoman Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? That's for June 15th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chief Bennett, you're up, and then we break.
Morning again, Council. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. In the effort of proactive communication, I just wanted to share with Council and the public, because I know we all enjoy our relationships with our 3 unions, and specifically the ATU Local 1464 is going to be impacted by the governor's signing of Senate Bill 256 into law, where the dues payments can no longer be channeled through the city. So the mayor and I thought it was important, knowing that council has a strong relationship, as we all do, with all 3 of our unions. And just for a quick data, we have 4,887 employees in the city. And when you approved last year's budget, that was the number that was in there. About 3,800 of our employees are union eligible. And if you take police and fire out of the equation, we probably have just over 2,000 that are ATU eligible. So I've worked with Steve Simon offline. We put a focus group together with the legal department, T&I, Technology and Information, our accounting group under Dennis Rojero, and HR to see how we could best interface with the union going forward based on the bill and the signature. We also know from the legal office there are some challenges out there against this, but we want to work proactively with the union to see how much ground we can cover before that July 1st deadline is in place. So we just wanted to share that information, that we are working together with the ATU offline, and hopefully we can find an opportunity to support the ATU going forward based on the new legislation. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Hurd.
Just want to say thank you so much for being proactive with this. Our union members are obviously the workers are the lifeblood of this organization, and I really appreciate that the administration is taking this as seriously as possible to make sure that people who want to be represented can be. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you very much, and I echo Councilwoman Hurtak's comments. You know, there were a lot of bad bills passed in Tallahassee. This is, I don't know if it's terrible, but I don't know if it's the worst. But it's really, really bad. And the worst part about it was how it exempts certain public sector unions that go a certain way, and that includes other it's terrible. And so I really appreciate that y'all are doing that, and I've spoken to Steve Simon and others about it, and it is punitive, it's arbitrary, but yet it's not arbitrary. So it's really bad. But thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
We are in recess until 1:40. I added 10 minutes. PM.
What time?